Chapter 1361 Domain Ancestor Level Method, Great Opportunity. On the bright side, the Dark Destruction domain has 16 ancestors, and the top 3 evil clans among the 3,000 evil clans each have 1 ancestor. In other words, on the bright side, the Dark Destruction domain has 19 ancestors. But there are only 10 ancestors on the bright side of the Dark Sanctuary, and there is a big gap between the ancestors of the Dark Destruction domain. Of course, these are all superficial ancestor data. The real situation, he certainly does not understand this level. In addition to the ancestors, there are also more half-step ancestors and supreme ancestors in the Dark Destruction domain, not to mention the invincible domain ancestors. The number is even more. Even the invincible domain ancestors of the Demon Prison clan have hundreds of them, and 3 supreme domain ancestors. This kind of strength is really powerful, which is comparable to the strength of a top holy land in the Dark Sanctuary. But in fact, there are only 72 holy places in the Dark Sanctuary. The ordinary holy places can't beat the Demon Clan, and the Demon Clan can only rank in the top 100 among the 3,000 evil clan. If it weren't for the 10 major holy gates, the Dark Life domain would be far from being able to compete with the Dark Destruction domain. On the whole, the strength of the Dark Sanctuary is not as good as the Dark Destruction domain. The strength of the Dark Destruction domain is so powerful, and there is a gate of time and space that can come and go freely. It is no wonder that the Dark Sanctuary does not dare to take the initiative to invade the Dark Destruction domain, but the Dark Destruction domain invades the Dark Sanctuary every long time. Yi Tian is completely enlightened. Of course, it is also a fact that the Dark Destruction domain cannot do anything to the Dark Sanctuary. The key element that really determines the outcome is the ancestor level. If the Dark Sanctuary gives birth to an ancestor who swept everything and easily kills other ancestors, then the Dark Sanctuary will dare to destroy the Dark Destruction domain. Conversely, the same is true. Yi Tian sneaked into the Dark Destruction domain, not only to solve the Daoshan realm, nor to understand the strength of the Dark Destruction domain. In fact, he still wanted to gain some benefits from the Dark Destruction domain, otherwise it would be a waste of time. The resources of the Dark Destruction domain are far inferior to the Dark Sanctuary. This is the source of destruction, surrounded by the power of destruction. Even the resources born are full of the power of destruction, which is not suitable for practitioners. But there are still many opportunities here, and even for cultivators, it can be called a heaven-defying opportunity. For example, Yi Tian learned about a chance, which is not too heaven-defying for the geniuses of the Dark Destruction domain, but it is very different for the practitioners. This opportunity is a river of dreams. The river of dreams is not a real river, but a sacred object, and it can be called the top 10 top sacred objects in the Dark Destruction domain. The Dark Sanctuary has a list of sacred objects, and the Dark Destruction domain also has a list of sacred objects of destruction, and the river of dreams is ranked 9th. It is controlled by the Dream Clan, one of the 3,000 evil clan. The Dream Clan is rumored to be a creature born in the river of dreams. It eventually rose to become one of the 3,000 evil clan, and ranked 3rd in the 3,000 evil clan, with an ancestor. Therefore, even destroying the Saint clan will give the Dream Clan face, and will not rob them of the river of dreams. The sacred object of the river of dreams is very special. It is not very big from the outside, but once you enter the river of dreams, it is like entering an endless river. The river of dreams is a sacred object, and it is a whole, so nothing can be taken away from it. It is rumored that the Dream Clan is also a kind of creature that strayed into the river of dreams and adapted to the environment of the river of dreams, and then transformed into the Dream Clan. In fact, the river of dreams does not give birth to any creatures. Of course, Yi Tian was too lazy to understand the truth of this history. But I have to say that the river of dreams is amazing. The core of the sacred object of the river of dreams has given birth to an area, or a realm of dreams. Once you enter the realm of dreams, you can evolve the future according to the way you cultivate. Road, and create a domain ancestor method suitable for self-cultivation. There was once a genius who destroyed the Holy Clan. With the help of the river of dreams, he created a supreme method that is second only to the ancestor method. In the end, he became the ancestor of the supreme domain with the help of that supreme method. Falling down the wind, it can be called the invincible ancestor of the supreme domain. Don't look at many ancestors who have cultivated to the realm of ancestors, but they basically don't practice much when they reach the realm of ancestors, and there are no exercises to practice. Because the way of each domain ancestor is different, the road is fixed. Unless it is the first ancestor method, the road can be forcibly reversed, otherwise the general domain ancestor practice method is useless to others. How to cultivate. But it is too difficult to create a domain ancestor method, so many domain ancestors directly do not practice the domain ancestor method, they directly practice step by step, relying on resources to improve their cultivation, and the promotion speed is not slow. Perhaps for many domain ancestors, the domain ancestor method is not very useful. It is true that the general domain ancestor method is really useless, but the top domain ancestor method is different. Once a top domain ancestor method is created, not to mention that there is no bottleneck in improving the cultivation base, and more importantly, the domain body, domain force and soul will be more refined. For example, Yi Tian is now, due to the lack of the domain ancestor method, his cultivation base has been upgraded to the perfect state of the ordinary domain body, but the speed of purifying his own power is very slow, and it is difficult to upgrade to the limit of the ordinary domain ancestor, and it takes a lot of money slowly improving for a long time, and you don't even know where your limits are. But if he created a top domain ancestor method, he could purify his domain body, domain power and soul to the limit, and even raise his cultivation to the real limit of the current realm. However, it is more difficult to create a top-level domain ancestor method, let alone create a supreme domain ancestor method. For many Yuzu ancestors, they had the time to create their own domain ancestor method, and they had already relied on resources to raise their cultivation to that level. Did they still need domain ancestor method? Isn't that a waste of time, Li Jiao robbery? But the River of Dreams can allow the ancestors of the domain to easily create their own domain ancestors. As long as the talent is sufficient, it is no problem to even create the supreme level domain ancestors. However, the realm of dreams cannot accommodate many people to create their own domain ancestors, and the geniuses of the dark destruction domain want to enter the dream realm not to create their own domain ancestors but to practice domain techniques. But the realm of dreams is not very helpful for the cultivation of holy skills, so those saints don't think much of the opportunity of the realm of dreams. But Yi Tian needs it, he is a cultivator, if he created the supreme domain ancestor method, it would be of great help to him in the future. The key is that Yi Tian shares information with the copying body soul, and copying what the body sees is equivalent to seeing the body, and the body can also create the supreme domain ancestor method with the help of the dream realm. Once he gets this opportunity, it is no less than a trip to the holy gold realm. Chapter 1362 Entering the River of Dreams. According to what I understand, it is very difficult to get the opportunity to enter the Dream River. After all, it is the ancestral land of the Dream Clan, and the Dream Clan attaches great importance to it. If it is not for the geniuses who destroyed the clan, they also want to enter the dream world. I am afraid that the Dream family will not open the River of Dreams. Yi Tian muttered, for the destruction of the saints, the Dream Clan is nothing, and they will naturally not resist. Therefore, every once in a while, the Dream Clan will open the Dream River, but there are only 1,000 places to the outside world. There are only 1,000 places in the 3,000 evil races, including members of the Destruction Saint race. Most of the places will be occupied by the Destruction Saint clan, and it is estimated that only 300 or 400 places will be the turn of the 3,000 evil races, and one evil race will not be able to get a quota. Therefore, for many evil races, it is very difficult to compete for the places in the River of Dreams. Even many geniuses of the evil race would give up voluntarily, too lazy to compete for the opportunity that was not very good for them. Yi Tian wants to enter the River of Dreams, after all, he is now copying his body, and improving his cultivation is of no use to him. It is far less important than creating a supreme-level domain ancestor method. But there are only 1,000 places in total, and many of the 3,000 evil races will apply to enter the realm of dreams. There are bound to be more than 1,000 places for geniuses who apply, and the cultivation of these geniuses is bound to be at the ancestor level. Otherwise, the benefits of entering the realm of dreams will be too small, there is no need to go, and an opportunity will be wasted. Therefore, the applied genius cultivation base must be above the domain ancestor, but there is also an upper limit, and the upper limit is the top domain ancestor. After all, it is extremely difficult to make further progress when it is the strongest domain ancestor, and the desire for the domain ancestor method is not much at that time. Even if you create your own domain ancestor method, it is difficult to be promoted to the invincible domain ancestor level. Moreover, the 3,000 evil clan and the destruction of the holy clan are basically promoted by blood, not by the domain ancestor method. For them, the domain ancestor method only has the effect of pure domain power, body and soul, and there is no way to help them break the shackles. Therefore, the most powerful ancestors of the dark destruction domain did not have much desire for the domain ancestor method. Otherwise, the competition pressure will be great, and Yi Tian will not be able to turn. According to the current rules, if the number of major evil clan applicants does not exceed 1,000, then all CJFI will enter the realm of dreams. If the number of applicants exceeds, it needs to rely on the strength, potential and talent of the application genius to decide let those geniuses enter the realm of fantasy. There is another way, that is to use a lot of resources to exchange places, but few evil races do this. Because resources are extremely important to the evil race, even more important than the chance to enter the realm of dreams. Yi Tian doesn't care about resources, what he values is this quota. So, he began to use his identity to operate. The son of the dead Yu is the son of the demon prison clan, with a distinguished status, and is also the son of the ancestor of the wind demon domain. He almost took out his share of resources, overdrafted his future resources in advance, and mobilized the relationship. In the end, Yi Tian successfully got a spot. Regarding Yi Tian's actions, the members of the demon prison clan did not understand very much, and felt that Yi Tian's actions were a complete waste of resources. Although he had obtained a place to enter the realm of dreams, how could he cultivate without resources? The evil race is very dependent on resources, they need resources to strengthen the power of blood, and even need resources to break through the bottleneck, but there is no way to comprehend the taboo way and absorb the power of dark taboos to easily temper the domain body to break through the cultivation base. Although the ancestor of the wind demon region also felt strange about his son's behavior, he also visited his son at the beginning, and there was no problem in terms of breath or soul. Therefore, he never doubted this son, and let him do random calculations. Moreover, as the invincible domain ancestor, he also has a lot of things to do, and he also thinks about hitting the supreme domain ancestor level. This day, with the support of a group of top domain ancestral guards, Yi Tian came to the ancestral land of the Dream Clan, the River of Dreams. Outside the River of Dreams, Yi Tian looked at this river, which was only a few miles long, and was shocked in his heart. Such a river actually exudes the breath of a sacred object, and it is the 9th sacred object on the list of destroyed sacred objects. It stands to reason that sacred objects should not be in this form. But it is holy, no one doubts it. In addition, the River of Dreams cannot move, and even the Dream Clan seems to be unable to take the River of Dreams away. However, the Dream Clan still built giant cities nearby to guard the Dream River to prevent other evil people from breaking into the Dream River. Yi Tian was temporarily waiting in a dream city near the River of Dreams, and when the staff arrived, they entered the River of Dreams together. Soon, the geniuses of the evil clan arrived. Some of them seemed to be familiar with the dead Yu Shengji, so they kept saying hello to Yi Tian, but he pretended to be indifferent and didn't respond much. This has aroused the doubts of many geniuses. However, many people knew about the death of the Son of Heaven who was caught in the Chaos Soul Art. These evil geniuses only thought that the Son of Heaven had been injured and his temperament had changed greatly, so they did not worry too much about Yi Tian's attitude. As time passed, the 1,000 talents were almost all reached. At this moment, an invincible domain ancestor of the Dream Clan appeared. He is the invincible domain ancestor, the nightmare domain ancestor. The nightmare domain ancestor looked at the geniuses of the various races and said, "Geniuses from the Destruction Saint race and the major evil races, after you enter the River of Dreams, you are only allowed to enter the world of dreams, and are not allowed to go to other places. It is not allowed to take away the treasures bred by the River of Dreams, understand? If anyone violates this rule, don't blame me for not giving face to the various races behind you." Yes, Lord Nightmare, one evil genius said quickly. On the contrary, the geniuses who destroyed the Saint race were arrogant and did not care about the words of the Nightmare Domain ancestor. For them, the Dream Clan is just a vassal, they are not afraid of the Nightmare Domain ancestor. Of course, they did not dare to refute. After all, the other party is the invincible domain ancestor, and it is not something they can offend now. Go in. After the nightmare domain ancestor spoke, he led 1,000 geniuses into the River of Dreams. From the outside, the River of Dreams is very small, but once you enter the River of Dreams, it is almost endless. Moreover, the pressure here is very huge, even the top domain ancestor level feels a lot of pressure. After flying for a long time, they finally came to the realm of dreams. The world of dreams presents 5 colors and exudes powerful fluctuations. These fluctuations penetrate directly into the soul, making Yi Tian feel extremely comfortable and even aura. Oh, what an amazing place! Yi Tian exclaimed secretly. Chapter 1363 Create the Primordial Well. Subsequently, Yi Tian and the geniuses of other evil races entered the realm of dreams one by one. Once they entered the realm of dreams, it was like coming to a small river. There was a special kind of water flowing here, filled with golden rays of light. The realm of dreams is not big. After each genius entered here, they each chose a place and began to comprehend and cultivate. Almost all the geniuses of the evil race are comprehending and cultivating domain techniques, and few of them go to create domain ancestors. On the other hand, Yi Tian started to create the domain ancestor dharma very seriously, but the creation of the domain ancestor dharma could not be seen, and if he didn't say it, others would not know. Therefore, other geniuses also thought that Yi Tian was cultivating domain art. With the passage of time, the domain techniques of many geniuses have made great progress, and Yi Tian's domain ancestor method has also made some progress. In the realm of dreams, Yi Tian seems to be able to see the scenes of the future. In fact, he creates the realm of ancestors, and the realm of dreams will give you guidance, so that you can walk on the right path in the creation of the realm of ancestors. It is precisely because of this that the dream realm has such a wonderful effect. The domain ancestor method that Yi Tian is going to create is not an ordinary domain ancestor method. The endless path, creating a domain ancestor method with infinite potential. It is conceivable how difficult it is to create such a domain ancestor dharma door, and there is no way for ordinary geniuses to create it, but with the help of the dream realm, Yi Tian managed to find his way. If he is given enough time, he is absolutely sure to create it. Once created, such a domain ancestor method can definitely become a supreme level domain ancestor method, even far exceeding the general supreme level domain ancestor method. 1,000 years, 100,000 years, million years. In a blink of an eye, thousands of years have passed. A mere tens of thousands of years is not a long time for the top domain ancestors, but at this time, the effect of the dream world is very poor. Many domain ancestors are not ready to waste time, and one by one they left the dream world. And Yi Tian is still comprehending. At this time he is about to create the domain ancestor method. This day, buzzing, a faint phantom appeared on Yi Tian's body, as if a supreme existence. As soon as this phantom appeared, many taboo rules froze one by one. It seemed to be walking in the depths of endless time and space, seeing time and space as infallible and above all rules. Its breath makes all geniuses fear it. The appearance of this vision immediately shocked all geniuses. This is a vision that can only be created by the creation of the supreme domain ancestral method. How is it possible? How could the son of the dead you create the supreme domain ancestral method? Many geniuses don't believe it. After all, the Son of Heaven is actually not very powerful, and the talent is just that, and it is only in the middle among the many saints. For example, the many saints who destroyed the saints could crush the dead saints one by one. None of them have any hope of creating the supreme ancestral Dharma door, and what is the son of the dead universe? Envy. All geniuses are jealous, and all are unwilling to believe this scene, but they have to believe it. However, when everyone didn't know it, this vision was only a part, and the vision that followed was beyond everyone's expectations. I saw the phantom looking back at Yi Tian, and the phantom's face gradually solidified, but it was not the face of the dead son, but the face of Yi Tian. It seems to be Yi Tian in the future, full of the breath of the Supreme Domain Ancestor, even showing the mystery of the Supreme Domain Ancestor level method, and there are a lot of traces of holy skills on his body. More importantly, it actually showed a trace of the ancestor's breath. But, the other geniuses did not pay attention to this impression, and it was fleeting and soon disappeared. There's something wrong with my vision, it doesn't seem to be the vision of the Supreme Domain Ancestor method, could it be? Yi Tian has a guess in his heart. Perhaps this method he created has surpassed the method of the ancestors of the supreme level domain, but it is not the method of the ancestors. Strictly speaking, it is between the supreme ancestral dharma and the ancestral dharma, and is not weaker than the incomplete version of the ancestral dharma. This domain ancestor method is called the endless domain method. Yi Tian named it. Having created the endless domain law, Yi Tian was ready to leave the dream realm. But at this moment, the mutation began. Boom! A suction force came, pulling Yi Tian's consciousness to a special area. Wow! Yi Tian's consciousness came to a void, and this void gave birth to an ancient well. A large amount of water continued to emerge from this ancient well, spreading to unknown depths. From this ancient well, Yi Tian sensed the aura of the holy relic. Moreover, the breath of this sacred object is exactly the same as that of the river of dreams. Yi Tian was shocked. This is how the same thing. Could it be? Yi Tian has a guess in his heart, that is, the river of dreams is not a real sacred object, but an external manifestation of the sacred object, and the real sacred object is actually this ancient well. A for flower sa. Even the clan may not know the existence of this ancient well, otherwise, he is afraid that he will not be able to reach here. Why am I here? Yi Tian was very curious at this time. What is special between him and other evil geniuses is that he created the endless domain law, and the others are nothing special. After all, his current body is a copy of the son of the dead universe, and the son of the dead universe is not an enchanting genius, just an ordinary son of God. Therefore, the reason for him to enter here is definitely not because of the son of the dead universe, but because of the endless domain law. It seems that the dream realm is similar to an assessment, and the endless domain law has reached the standard, which is why I entered here. Yi Tian guessed. The River of Dreams is rated as the 9th on the list of sacred objects of destruction, and this ancient well is probably above the River of Dreams. After all, the River of Dreams is only the external manifestation of the sacred objects of the ancient well. If you can obtain this ancient well holy relic, then the harvest is too great. Yi Tian approached the ancient well, and seeing that nothing happened, he entered the ancient well. Refining. Yi Tian's consciousness kept refining this ancient well sacred object, and the sacred object did not resist, so Yi Tian could refine this ancient well sacred object. Obviously, Yi Tian is equivalent to passing the sacred artifact assessment and no longer resists. Time passed slowly, and it took Yi Tian 1 million years for him to initially refine this ancient well. At this time, he also knew the name and use of this ancient well sacred object. It is called Creation Hunyuan Well, and its main function is to create the world, to create an incomparably powerful world that is above all worlds. As the owner of the primordial well of creation, you can take advantage of the opportunity of creation to enter a very high realm, and you can also use that world to gain insight and practice, just like using the realm of fantasy to practice at the same time. Yi Tian was excited after knowing the use of the primordial well of creation. Once he brings this Genesis well back to the Xuanshu taboo realm, the Xuanshu taboo realm can easily break the limits of the taboo realm and step into another world level. Moreover, the Daoshan realm will also benefit from this and will continue to evolve. In this way, the future potential of the Daoshan realm and the Xuanshu taboo realm will be extremely huge. Perhaps after endless years, it will be able to grow to a huge and prosperous area second only to the Dark Sanctuary and the Dark Destruction realm. Such a relic is definitely number 1 on the list of destroyed relics. Yi Tian estimated Dao Ji. Chapter 1364 Back to the Dao Mountain Realm. After obtaining the primordial well of creation, Yi Tian can directly take this sacred object away after refining it. However, it cannot be taken away directly like this. Because the River of Dreams is the form of the external sacred object evolved from the aura of the sacred object of the Chuangshi Hunyuan well, once the Chuangshi Hunyuan well is taken away, the River of Dreams will disappear. In this way, the Dream Clan will discover the situation of the River of Dreams, and the Dream Clan will definitely search at all costs, and even ask to investigate the storage space, inner world and all places that can hide treasures on every genius. At that time, he will not be able to hide the Chuangshi primordial well, and it will inevitably be exposed. It doesn't matter if his body falls, but if the Chuangshi primordial well is lost, the loss will be too great, and it will be cheap for the Dream Clan. Therefore, he must ensure that the River of Dreams will not disappear in a short time. Extract the power of the primordial well of creation and form a sacred object clone to stay here and maintain the River of Dreams. When I leave the darkness and destroy the 577 extermination domain, the River of Dreams disappears and they can't find them either. I am. Yi Tian thought to himself. Since then, Yi Tian began to extract the sacred power of the primordial well of creation and slowly formed a sacred avatar. Almost there, Yi Tian looked at the Chuangshi Hunyuanjing clone that had already been formed, and had already replaced the Chuangshi Hunyuanjing, and nodded in his heart. Afterwards, his consciousness wrapped around the Chuangshi Hunyuanjing and returned to the original body. Silently, the Chuangshi primordial well fell into Yi Tian's body space. As long as the invincible domain ancestors do not carefully probe his body, they will hardly find the primordial well of creation. Moreover, under the control of Yi Tian, the aura of the sacred relic of Hunyuanjing of creation is introverted, and it is difficult to discover its identity. So, Yi Tian is not worried about anything. Wow! Yi Tian left the world of dreams, left the River of Dreams, and then returned to the Demon Prison Clan. Along the way, he was not hindered in any way. After returning to the Demon Prison Clan, Yi Tian breathed a sigh of relief. At least, with his current status, it is impossible for him to be in any danger in the Demon Prison Clan. Yi Tian didn't stay in the Demon Prison Clan much because he knew very well that the River of Dreams could not exist for a long time and would disappear soon. Therefore, he must leave the dark destruction domain as soon as possible, and he must leave this place far away to ensure that he will not be caught by the people of the Dream Clan, otherwise, he will not be able to escape. Soon, Yi Tian found an opportunity and left the Demon Prison Clan by going out to practice. He first practiced in various places in the Dark Destruction Domain, and then directly chose to leave the Dark Destruction Domain and flew towards the Dark Forbidden Domain outside the Dark Destruction Domain. As soon as he entered the Dark Forbidden area, Yi Tian accelerated and flew towards the Daoshan boundary. He has the ontology as the coordinates, and this connection almost ignores the distance, so he returns to the Daoshan realm through this connection. In a blink of an eye, 100 years have passed. This day, the powerhouses of the Dream Clan found that the River of Dreams had dimmed and became more and more illusory. At a certain moment, the River of Dreams disappeared with a bang. What happened? The invincible domain ancestors of the Dream family appeared, several supreme domain ancestors also appeared, and even the Dream ancestor of the Dream family appeared. I have seen the Dream ancestor. I have seen the Dream ancestor. I have seen the Dream ancestor. An ancestor of the domain said respectfully. Why is the River of Dreams gone? The Dream ancestor was very angry. The River of Dreams is the foundation of the Dream Clan. Without the sacred artifact of the River of Dreams, the development of the Dream Clan will be many times slower. The disappearance of the River of Dreams is too serious for the Dream Clan. The ancestor of dreams, we don't know, the River of Dreams suddenly disappeared. An invincible domain Zuhui reported. Then, an invincible domain ancestor evolved the scene he saw. Through the scene of evolution, the Dream Clan knew that such a thing happened suddenly in the River of Dreams, and no one came into contact with the River of Dreams. Because the realm of fantasy has just finished opening, the energy consumption is relatively large. During this period of time, the River of Fantasy needs to recover its energy, so even the ancestors who have been retreating in the River of Fantasy for a long time have come out. No one has entered the River of Dreams recently, how could there be a problem with the River of Dreams? Investigate the last batch of geniuses who entered the realm of dreams, and investigate at all costs, all suspects, and anything happens, I will guarantee. The Dream Ancestor said. As the first ancestor, he is not afraid of offending and destroying the Holy Clan. Just interrogating the younger generation who destroyed the Holy Clan, he still has this qualification. As for the other evil races, he doesn't care anymore. Could the geniuses of those evil races dare to resist his ancestor? Soon, the last batch of 1,000 geniuses who entered the realm of dreams were interrogated one by one, and they were even forced to tell their actions in the realm of dreams by performing the illusion technique. They were naturally unable to resist when the ancestors used the illusion technique, and they told the truth one by one. Although some domain ancestors made some small moves, they would not pose any threat to the River of Dreams, and they all got rid of the relationship. However, one person has not yet been interrogated. The ancestor of the dream, the dead son of the Demon Prison Clan, is not in the Demon Prison Clan. He left the Demon Prison Clan not long after he left the Dream Realm. It is said that he has left the Dark Destruction Realm and has nowhere to go. A report from the ancestors of the Supreme Realm of the Dream Clan. The son of the dead. The Dream Ancestor began to doubt the son of the dead universe. Moreover, according to the information that I have learned, the son of the dead you created the Supreme Domain Ancestral Method. If there is something wrong with the River of Dreams, the son of the dead you is the most suspicious. What's more important is that Saint Sun Sin Yu created the Supreme Domain Ancestor Dharma by himself. It stands to reason that he should close the Cultivation Domain Ancestral Dharma in a short period of time. He should not run around and even leave the Dark Destruction Domain. This is too suspicious. Therefore, 90% of the concept of the ancestors of dreams confirms that the disappearance of the River of Dreams has something to do with the son of the dead universe. Even, the son of the dead you took the River of Dreams. What is not clear to the outside world is that although the Dream Clan is in charge of the River of Dreams, they have not actually refined the River of Dreams at all, and even his first ancestor cannot refine the River of Dreams. It sounds incredible, but it's the truth. Because of this, the Dream Ancestor felt that the River of Dreams was not simple. The Son of Death must have refined and taken away the sacred object of the River of Dreams, and then escaped from the Demon Prison Clan. The Dream Ancestor guessed. This kind of practice is very normal. If it was replaced by him, he would also do the same in 5.8. Once there is the sacred object of the River of Dreams, and it is refined by oneself, in the future, with the help of the River of Dreams, it will inevitably grow up. Damn the Holy Son of Death you, he broke the foundation of our Dream Clan. The order has been issued, to hunt down the son of Yu, and to suppress the Demon Prison Clan for me. The dream ancestor gave the order. If it wasn't for destroying the existence of the Saint clan, he would probably want to destroy the demon prison clan. However, not long after, the ancestor of the demon prison clan was assassinated. All the evil races speculated that it was the dream race, but there was no evidence. It has to be said that this time the demon prison clan was miserable by Yi Tian. And the dream clan still doesn't know that the so-called son of the dead Yu is a fake at all, otherwise they will vomit blood even more. In the blink of an eye, 20 million years have passed. Yi Tian flew for so long before finally reaching the Daoshan boundary. Chapter 1365 Acquire the sight and completely control the mysterious and taboo world. After returning to the Daoshan realm, Yi Tian's body immediately greeted his cloned body, and then released the cloned body immediately. After all, the appearance of the son of the dead is not suitable for appearing in the Daoshan realm. The mysterious and taboo world, the human world. Yi Tian's body returned with the Chuangshi Hunyuan well, and then began to refine the Chuangshi Hunyuan well again. After a long time, Yi Tian re-refined the Chuangshi Hunyuan well. He is going to fuse the Chuangshi Hunyuanjing with the Xuanshu taboo realm. Once it is merged, the Xuanshu taboo realm will inevitably break the limit of the taboo realm and be promoted to another level. But in this way, the value of the Xuanshu taboo world is completely different. Although the human race now occupies a lot of territory in the Xuanshu taboo world, it is actually not many. If you are promoted to the Xuanshu taboo world, it will be cheaper for other forces. Of course, he will not destroy other forces. This day, Yi Tian summoned the masters of many forces in the Xuanshu taboo world, including the master of the Black Wind Mountain. The purpose of his opening this meeting is very simple, that is, to buy the territory of other forces in the Xuanshu taboo realm, and completely control the Xuanshu taboo realm in the hands of the human race. At the meeting, a named domain ancestor or half-step domain ancestor appeared here, one by one wondering why Yi Tian started such a meeting. Soon, Yi Tian came. I have seen the ancestors of Wanvayu. I have seen the ally. 1.5-step domain ancestors and domain ancestors respectfully said. Yi Tian said directly, this meeting is very simple. I want to buy the territory of the Xuanshu taboo realm from the major forces. Please open a base in other places in the Daoshan realm. 1. As soon as these words came out, many people changed their color. A domain ancestor said, Wanfa domain ancestor, are you trying to drive us away? This is purely voluntary, as long as you are willing to leave, I am willing to give enough rewards, and even the inheritance of the holy body and the corresponding cultivation treasures, I can take them out. Yi Tian said, Holy Communion inheritance. When many half-step domain ancestors heard it, they were immediately moved, and even some domain ancestors were very moved. They now basically know that if there is no holy body inheritance, there is basically no way to be promoted to the ancestor level of the strongest domain. Of course, practicing the holy body only means that there is a chance to become the ancestor of the strongest domain, but it does not mean that you can break through 100%. But with the Eucharist inheritance, there is hope. Who doesn't want a Eucharistic tradition? Some of the top domain ancestors in the Daoshan realm also have the holy body themselves. The top domain ancestors who do not have the holy body have now also obtained the holy body inheritance from the Zanji Tower, but what they have obtained are the relatively rubbish holy body inheritance. Not much help. Moreover, only a half-step domain ancestor level can cultivate the holy body. Once it breaks through to the domain ancestor level and the domain body is fixed, it will be difficult to cultivate the holy body. Unless it is a treasure like the void sacred fruit, the domain body can be forcibly reversed to form the void sacred body. And treasures like the void sacred fruit, where are the treasures that these top domain ancestors can obtain? Therefore, many of the top domain ancestors in the Daoshan realm now do not have the holy body, so they cannot break through with the holy body. They can only pass on the holy body inheritance to their descendants or disciples they value. Therefore, the half-step ancestors naturally want to obtain the inheritance of the holy body before they are promoted to the ancestors, but it is too difficult for them to obtain the inheritance of the holy body. Now, Yi Tian said that he can pass on the holy body to them. This is a great opportunity that is hard to find. Immediately, the ancestors of the half-step domain represented their own forces and expressed their willingness to give their territory to the clan, only needing the inheritance of the holy body and some resources. In their opinion, how dare these small forces dare to resist the human race? They are a group of ants to Yi Tian, and that little site is exchanged for the inheritance of the holy body. Even if they can't practice it themselves, if the force they belong to produces a genius, then there is hope to be promoted to the ancestor of the strong domain. So, such a deal is a good deal. Subsequently, 1.5-step ancestors signed the law agreement on the spot and agreed to such a transaction. And Yi Tian also passed down a series of ordinary sacred bodies to them at the beginning. The value of these sacred body inheritances in the war gate is not high, and his status can naturally be exchanged for a lot. When these half-step ancestors obtained the inheritance of the holy body and some resources, they immediately went back to prepare to withdraw from the mysterious and taboo world. After all, those resources are enough for them to hit the domain ancestor level, and even cultivate a few domain ancestors. Moreover, withdrawing from the Xuanxu taboo realm does not mean that they cannot return to the Xuanxu taboo realm. They can still enter the Xuanxu taboo realm to find resources and treasures, but the territory is managed by the human race. Territorial sovereignty. Strictly speaking, their losses are not too great, but their gains are too great. Most of the forces in the Xuanxu taboo world are small forces, but there are too few forces with domain ancestors. Black Wind Mountain is one, and there are also the forces of the first group of domain ancestors who entered the Xuanxu taboo world. Leader, can you really offer any conditions? A domain ancestor asked. Can. Yi Tian nodded. Zanji Tower, 1 million points. If you give it to me, I will immediately lead my sect to leave the Xuanxu taboo world. 1. The domain ancestor said. Can. Yi Tian agreed. 1 million points is also an astronomical number for a general domain ancestor, but for a domain ancestor like him, it is nothing at all, and even some holy places can get 1 million points. It can only be said that this domain ancestor is too poor, otherwise he would dare to offer a price of 10 million points, and Yi Tian might agree. Seeing that Yi Tian agreed, that domain ancestor was named. 1 million points is enough to exchange 577 for the multi-door holy body inheritance in the battlefield tower, and it can also be exchanged for many resource treasures that are of great help to his cultivation. Leader, I also want 1 million points. Another domain ancestor said. Can. Yi Tian agreed one by one. Soon after, he signed an agreement with all these domain ancestors, and took them into the War Realm Tower on the spot, transferring 1 million points to them. Half a month later, this meeting is coming to an end, and only Black Wind Mountain is left. Yi Tian is also the domain ancestor of Haifeng Mountain. He asked Haifeng Mountain to relocate the headquarters and give up the taboo world, which naturally requires more price. After all, Haifeng Mountain occupied more territory than the human race. Without enough price, Haifeng Mountain would not foolishly give up the taboo world. Alliance leader, you and I are both members of Haifeng Mountain. If Haifeng Mountain gives up the Xuanxu taboo realm, my price will be very high. The Black Wind Mountain Lord reminded. Haifeng Mountain Lord, you can mention it. Yi Tian said. The Black Wind Mountain Lord pondered for a while, and said, I need a treasure that can help me break through to the Supreme Domain Ancestor, and also need an Ancestor Medicine, 1,000 Holy Medicines, 3 Sacred Body Inheritance, 20 Domain Techniques, and resources worth 10 million Battlefield Tower points. He was a big lion, thinking that Yi Tian would bargain. However, Yi Tian directly agreed. Yes, I agree. Chapter 1366 World Promotion, Realm Expansion. Agreed. The Black Wind Mountain Master was also shocked. The requirements he put forward are so excessive that the value is higher than that of the entire Xuanxu taboo realm, even higher than a realm. After all, the value of a mysterious and taboo world cannot allow a top domain ancestor to break through to the Supreme Domain Ancestor level. Moreover, he also has an ancestral medicine. The value of the ancestral medicine is comparable to a sacred relic. Coupled with the resources of 3 Sacred Body Inheritance, 20 Domain Techniques, and 10 million Battlefield Tower points, what an exaggerated requirement. Unexpectedly, Yi Tian actually agreed. What Haifeng Mountain Master didn't know was how high Yi Tian's status was now, and the mere relics were nothing to him. Moreover, after completely controlling the Xuanxu taboo realm, he confused the creation primordial well with the taboo void realm to create a world with unlimited potential, so paying for this is nothing. With the creation of Hunyuanjing, he will be sure to make this realm a place similar to the Dark Sanctuary in the future. Besides, he is also a member of Haifeng Mountain. Although he is only a name, it is reasonable to give Haifeng Mountain some benefits. Naturally, he will not care about these resources. The Black Wind Mountain Master requested a lot of things, and Yi Tian would definitely not be able to take it out for a while. He went to the Zanji Tower and exchanged the required treasures from the Zanmen, and then returned to the Xuanxu taboo realm. Haifeng Mountain Lord, this is the glazed holy source fruit, which is of unimaginable help for the top domain ancestor to hit the strongest domain ancestor. The reason why the top domain ancestor is difficult to be promoted to the strongest domain ancestor is because the top domain body wants to transform into a strong domain ancestor. It is very difficult to be the strongest domain ancestor. Only the combination of the domain body and the holy body can increase the success rate. The stronger the holy body, the greater the hope of breakthrough. But the glazed holy source fruit can force the top the ancestor of the domain has broken through to the level of the ancestor of the strong domain. But it also has flaws, because once it is used, it will be more difficult to hit the level of the ancestor of the invincible domain in the future. If so, the difficulty is more than 10 times that of the other Shanqiang ancestors. Yi Tian took the glazed holy source fruit and introduced it. Thank you, allies. The Lord of Black Wind Mountain was so satisfied that he took over the glazed sacred origin fruit. Compared with the effect of the glazed holy source fruit, that little defect is nothing. With his talent, the hope of becoming a supreme ancestor in the future is very slim. If there is a glazed holy source fruit, it will almost certainly become the ancestor of the strongest domain. As for the ancestor of the invincible domain, that realm is too far away from him. If you can't even step into the strongest domain ancestor, how will you step into the invincible domain ancestor in the future? Therefore, he naturally wouldn't care about the flaws of the glazed sacred origin fruit. He was very satisfied with this treasure. Afterwards, Yi Tian handed over the inheritance of the 3 sacred bodies, the 20 domain arts, and many resources to the Black Wind Mountain Lord. Soon after, the domain ancestors of Haifeng Mountain and the countless Taoist ancestors under his command migrated out of the Xuanshu Tabu realm, and directly opened a domain boundary somewhere in the Daoshan boundary as the headquarters of Haifeng Mountain. With the resources given by Yi Tian, Haifeng Mountain would be able to give birth to a large number of domain ancestors in the future. Moreover, the Black Wind Mountain Lord can also be promoted to the top domain ancestor and the strongest domain ancestor in a short period of time. After all, he has an ancestor medicine, and this ancestor medicine is enough to promote him to the pinnacle of the top domain ancestor in a short time. Then taking the glazed holy source fruit can make the top domain body transform into the strongest domain body, and thus be promoted to the supreme domain ancestor. Maybe it won't be too long before Haifeng Mountain Lord can become a supreme ancestor. However, even if he became the supreme strong domain ancestor, he was only a very ordinary supreme strong domain ancestor, far from being Yi Tian's opponent. In a blink of an eye, thousands of years have passed. At this time, the Xuanshu Tabu realm has almost become the territory of the human race, and countless human races are scattered. Because the territory is too large, many human races can be alone or a fief of a continent or a small world. This era belongs to the era of the human race, and the treatment of each human race is extremely good. Coupled with countless resources, the genius of the human race emerges one after another, and the ancestors of the human race are also born one by one. It's time to merge and create the primordial well. Yi Tian is not ready to wait anymore. Afterwards, he came to the sea of origin of the Xuanshu Tabu realm and took out the primordial well of creation. As long as the creation of the primordial well and the sea of origin of the Xuanshu Tabu realm are integrated, the Xuanshu Tabu realm can be promoted to evolve and an incomparably powerful world can be opened up. Such a world is called the Holy Land in the Dark Sanctuary. In the Dark Sanctuary, only the 72 holy places and the 10 holy gates have holy realms. Strictly speaking, the world owned by holy places is called Holy Realm, while the 10 holy gates own the ancestral realm. The ancestral world is very difficult to be born, and it takes endless resources to create it. The ancestral realm of the Dark Destruction domain is not as good as the Dark Sanctuary. After all, the resources of the Dark Destruction domain are not many. For example, although the Dream Clan has an ancestor, it is difficult for them to create an ancestral realm. Originally, it is impossible to create a holy world in the realm, and even if you want to create it, it is not possible because the realm cannot withstand the power of the holy realm. The creation Hunyuanjing has the ability to open up and evolve the world, and can even open up a world that is superior to any world. Since it is the creation of the world, it naturally has the ability to shelter a realm, and it will also evolve a realm to another level along the way, affecting a large area. Moreover, once the Chuangshi Hunyuanjing and the Xuanshu Tabu world merge and evolve, Yi Tian will also be equivalent to the master of the new world. At that time, he will stand in the new world, and he will be able to exert a very terrifying strength, and even be able to mobilize the power of the Chuangshi Hunyuanjing to suppress the enemy. The fusion of the primordial well of creation in the world does not mean that it disappears. Once the new world is born, it is equivalent to the origin of the world. Boom! Under the control of Yi Tian, The primordial well of creation merged with the forbidden world of Xuanxu, and the whole world began to shake. Wow wow! Outside the Xuanxu taboo world, a famous domain ancestor arrived here and sensed the changes in the Xuanxu taboo world. What's going on here? Many domain ancestors were stunned and did not know what happened. Xuanxu taboo world Li Jiaojiao seems to be evolving, but he is already a taboo world, the limit of a realm world. How can it still evolve? Is it related to the leader of the alliance? Some time ago, San let all the forces withdraw from the Xuanxu taboo realm, and even paid a lot of money. I'm afraid it has something to do with the plan. Now the changes in the Xuanxu taboo realm must have something to do with him. Let's continue to watch. It should be a good thing. The leader of the alliance will not be detrimental to himself. Robbery. A group of domain ancestors watched the changes in the mysterious and taboo world. I saw that the Xuanxu taboo world continued to expand, the breath became stronger and stronger, and gradually surpassed the taboo world. At the same time, the entire Daoshan area was also affected. Not to mention that the primordial energy of chaos is getting stronger and stronger, the entire realm is still expanding, constantly annexing the area of the Dark Forbidden Realm. This scene completely shocked all the domain ancestors. This thing is too incredible for them, they have never heard that the realm can be expanded. Chapter 1367 The number of human races has skyrocketed countless times. Husband, what's the matter? Xiao Yu appeared beside Yi Tian. Yi Tian's son Yi Xingchen, daughter Yi Xingyu and younger sister Yi Yu also went out one after another. They didn't know what happened, so they asked them one by one. The Xuanxu taboo realm is going to be promoted to the Holy Realm. Yi Tian explained. Holy World. Xiao Yu also learned a lot about the Dark Sanctuary from Yi Tian's mouth, so she also knew a little about the Holy World, which is a world that only the Sanctuary has. And how powerful the Holy Land is. At least one supreme domain ancestor and multiple invincible domain ancestors can build or own a holy world. This shows how rare the Holy World is. And now, the Xuanxu taboo realm is going to be promoted to the Holy Realm. At this time, they finally knew why Yi Tian spent such a huge price to buy the territory of many forces. In the beginning, they thought that Yi Tian was just letting people occupy more territory, just to make the entire Xuanxu taboo world a territory for the people, so that the people could develop. But now, they finally know. The Xuanxu taboo realm has been promoted to the Holy 577 realm, and the value of the Xuanxu Holy Realm is too high. It can be said that the value of a square piece of land in the Holy World is many, many times higher than that of a universe in the outside world. Before, those forces still had their own territory in the Holy Realm. If they didn't trade to the human race, those territories would belong to them. Unless Yi Tian destroyed them, they would have a large area of the Holy Realm, which is far better than Yi Tian's. The benefits given to them are infinitely more precious. It has to be said that these forces are at a loss. However, the Xuanxu taboo realm is Yi Tian's single-handedly promoting evolution. They are not actually losing money, but they can't get the benefits brought by the promotion of the Holy Realm. As for these forces not regretting later, Yi Tian doesn't care at all. He dared to guarantee that no force would dare to cause trouble, otherwise he would directly destroy that force and would not be so polite. With the passage of time, the volume of the Xuanxu taboo world is getting bigger and bigger. 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times, 10,000 times, 100,000 times, million times. It must be said that the difference between the holy world and the taboo world is too great. The value of a holy world is thousands of times more than that of a forbidden world. Moreover, this world is integrated with the primordial well of creation. The holy realm is just the beginning, and it will be promoted to the ancestral realm in the future, and it is not impossible to even surpass the ancestral realm. After a long time, the Xuanxu Holy Realm was officially born and stabilized. And the changes in the Daoshan realm have not ended, it is still expanding, it is hundreds of times larger than the original small realm, and a huge unowned area has been born. This unowned area will gradually give birth to some new substances. For other forces, the value of these new material treasures is also very high. After all, in such a huge area, if they are allowed to collect, how many resources can they collect? For them, such a large area is equivalent to hundreds of new realms, enough to drive many forces crazy. But compared with the Xuanxu Holy Realm, this gain is nothing. The biggest change in the Daoshan boundary is that the area has become larger, that is, the chaotic vitality is 10 times stronger, and the rules are much stronger. Right now, the qualitative change in the Daoshan boundary is not obvious. But with the passage of time, the Daoshan boundary is afraid that many precious treasures will be born in the future. For example, in the past, the Daoshan realm rarely produced treasures suitable for the ancestors, and the treasures born were basically low-level and not suitable for the ancestors. But now, the Daoshan boundary is no longer an ordinary CJFI boundary, but a super-large boundary, which is enough to breed many extremely precious resources. And the Xuanshu Holy Realm is even more incredible. I am afraid that it is enough to give birth to many treasures that make the ancestors of the strong and invincible domains very excited. But today's Xuanshu Sacred Realm already belongs to the human race. Only the treasure land that the human race despises can they enter into the snatch, otherwise it will be a challenge to the human race. After the Xuanshu Sacred Realm was stabilized, Yi Tian began to let the powerhouses of the race gather resources for the new generation. As the owner of the Hunyuan Well of Creation, he is also equivalent to the master of the Xuanshu Holy Realm. He can perceive some situations in the Xuanshu Holy Realm. Although he cannot accurately know the situation of each treasure, he can perceive which area was born. There are many treasures, so let the strong people of the race go to collect them at the first time, so as not to be taken away by the foreign ancestors in the future. In the next period of time, almost no one of the human race retreated and practiced, and they were all looking for resources and treasures and occupying new territories. Xuanshu Sacred Realm is 1,000,000 times larger than before. It is conceivable how much free space there is in Xuanshu Sacred Realm. Now it belongs to the human race, and many weak humans can obtain a large amount of land. As a result, countless families were born, and children were born crazily, just to increase the population and gain more territory. Under such circumstances, the number of human races is growing at an unbelievable rate. Even many human beings have entered the great formation of time to increase their offspring. For example, in an environment of 10,000 times the acceleration of time, how many generations must be born? A small world opens 10,000 times of time acceleration. 1 year outside, the small world spends 10,000 years, even a small family. In the case of increasing offspring at all costs, I am afraid that countless billions can be born. Humanity. And many forces in the entire human race do this. In just 10 years, the population of the entire human race has increased thousands of times, which is very exaggerated. However, in order to gain more territory, this measure will probably last for a long time until the territory of the Xuanshu Taboo realm is completely exhausted. Yi Tian knew that this method of many families was a bit unkind, but he didn't care about it. After all, it was also the choice of those families. Moreover, this can indeed increase the number of human beings many times in a short period of time, allowing the race to quickly occupy those empty territories. The strength of the human race will also skyrocket in a short period of time, which is a good thing. In the blink of an eye, tens of thousands of years have passed. At this time, the Xuanshu Sacred Realm has changed a lot. Chapter 1368. A sacred object was born in the Xuanshu Holy Realm. Today, a large number of domain ancestors have been born in the Xuanshu Holy Realm. After all, the cultivation environment is good, and there are many more resources that help the half-step domain ancestors practice. In the past, if a half-step domain ancestor wanted to be promoted to the domain ancestor level, it would take endless long years, and even until the day when the Tao heart collapsed, there was no way to raise the cultivation base to the domain ancestor level. But it is different now. A lot of resources can quickly increase the improvement of the half-step domain ancestors' cultivation base, and can soon be promoted to the level of unity, and then complete the integration of the forbidden way in the fleshly body. As long as you understand the mystery of the domain ancestor, it can hit the realm of the ancestors. Therefore, the Xuanshu Sacred Realm has now given birth to a large number of domain ancestors, and most of these domain ancestors are from the human race. After all, the human race occupies the entire Xuanshu Sacred Realm. Moreover, the number of people in the human race is now thousands of times larger than before, and this is also the result of the efforts of countless people of the human race. Of course, the domain ancestors of the human race are basically ordinary domain ancestors. It is still relatively difficult to be promoted to elite domain ancestors. It takes a long time to cultivate and countless resources. Yi Tian's progress is not small. He created the domain ancestor method, the endless domain method, and now he is also practicing the endless domain method. Dzogchen limit level. This belongs to the real limit, and it is impossible to make further progress at the ordinary domain ancestor level. If Yi Tian wants to improve his cultivation, he can only break through the realm and become an elite domain ancestor. It's time to break through, Yi Tian muttered. After all, he has reached the pinnacle of ordinary domain ancestors, so why not break through? Human world. Yi Tian began to retreat into the elite domain ancestor realm, he only needed to transform the ordinary domain body into the elite domain body. It is not difficult for Yi Tian to transform the domain body, not to mention that he created the endless domain method, the domain ancestor method, which makes the transformation of the domain body even easier. This day, Yi Tian's domain body broke through easily, and transformed from an ordinary domain body to an elite domain body. It is also a transformation. Boom! Yi Tian's domain body is getting stronger and stronger, the domain power is also skyrocketing rapidly, and the strength is constantly improving. This transformation took decades to complete. At this time, Yi Tian's strength has increased by about 10 times, and this has only just broken through to the elite domain ancestor level. If Yi Tian now fights with the original 6 Saint Sons, he can easily kill them all. After reaching the elite domain ancestor level, Yi Tian spent some time stabilizing the current realm and started taking the ancestor medicine. He only refined 1/10 of the original ancestral medicine, so this ancestral medicine was enough for him to use it to the top domain ancestor level. In the days that followed, Yi Tian continued to refine the ancestral medicine, only refining 3/10 of the ancestral medicine, and successfully raised the cultivation base to the peak of the elite domain ancestors. After that, he only needs to practice the endless domain law to continuously refine the domain body and domain power, and strengthen the soul, and then he can be promoted to the extreme of the elite domain ancestor, but this step also takes a lot of time. And since the creation of the Xuanshu Holy Realm, Yi Tian in the Xuanshu Holy Realm is equivalent to using the creation of the primordial well to cultivate, and it is also of great help in assisting the understanding of the holy skills. Although it is not as good as the ancestor method, the effect is quite good. As long as Yi Tian is given enough time, he can even cultivate a holy skill to the extreme level. The days passed slowly, and Yi Tian's holy skills reached the perfect state one after another. It can be said that the many holy skills Yi Tian has cultivated so far have almost reached the perfect state, and his strength is much stronger than in the past. This day, when Yi Tian was in retreat, a treasure was born somewhere in the Xuanshu Holy Realm. Xuanshu Holy Realm, Kanggu Realm. The Kanggu Realm is a newly born void realm in the Xuanshu Holy Realm. There are many treasures in it, so the Taoist ancestors and even the ancestors of the human race often enter it to hunt for treasures. However, streaks of golden light shone in all directions, attracting the attention of many domain ancestors. Immediately, a bit domain ancestor shuttled past. Soon, they found traces of the treasure. They found that the treasure that radiated countless golden lights was a small golden tower, and this small tower exuded an atmosphere similar to that of the battlefield tower. Is this a holy thing? All the domain ancestors were moved. Holy relic, what a precious treasure, even if it is just an ordinary relic, the value is incomparably high. Ask for Flowersa if they obtain a sacred object, they can completely trade with the ancestors of Wanvayu, or sell them to the War Realm Tower, and they can obtain a lot of resources and treasures. It can be said that if they snatch this sacred object, they will get rich. Wow wow, a famous domain Zufei went to snatch the holy relic, but was shocked by the golden light. At this time, they remembered that if the sacred object was not fully conceived, it would be protected by rules during this period. So, these domain ancestors are waiting one by one. Now, this sacred artifact has shown a vision, and it will naturally not take long for it to be fully conceived. In the blink of an eye, several months passed. Suddenly, the golden light is restrained, and the aura of the sacred object is strong and stable. At this time, many ancestors of the domain started to act one after another. But at this moment, a robe of stars appeared, blocking all the domain ancestors. In an instant, a figure emerged, approaching the holy relic. I want this sacred object. The person who came here said. There are many competing for it. 7. There is no other, just because the comer is not an ordinary person, but the son of the master of the human race, Yi Xingchen, who is also called the ancestor of the star domain. The strength of the ancestor of the star domain is not ordinary, and now he is also an elite domain ancestor. If the cultivation of the peak is not for the purpose of stabilizing the realm and purifying the domain power, I am afraid that it has already entered the top domain ancestor level, and even started to attack the strongest domain ancestor. Together these ordinary ancestors, they are no longer the opponents of the ancestors of the stars, and naturally they dare not snatch the sacred objects with the ancestors of the stars. Although it was a pity, they could only give up. Yi Xingchen took the sacred object and returned to the human world, and then began to refine the sacred object. After a long time, he refined this sacred object and learned the name of this sacred object, Golden Light Tower. This is an ordinary sacred object, but it is a sacred object with both defense and suppression. It is quite good, although it is not as good as the sacred object on the list of sacred objects in the Dark Sanctuary, but the sacred object was born in the Xuanxu sacred world, which is an important signal. So, Yi Xingchen came to meet his father Yi Tian and told him about the birth of the sacred object. Chapter 1369 Soul Holy World, a shocking treasure. Father, the sacred world of Xuanxu gave birth to a sacred object. Yi Xingchen met Yi Tian and reported it. A holy relic was born. Yi Tian was not surprised, but was surprised. The holy world will indeed give birth to sacred objects, but when it will give birth to sacred objects, it is difficult to say. For example, in the general holy world, only 1 or 2 holy objects will be born after a long time. And Xuanxu Holy Realm was born not long ago, but it also gave birth to holy objects, which is enough to show that Xuanxu Holy Realm is very extraordinary. Father, this is the holy relic. Yi Xingchen took out the golden light tower. Yi Tian roughly recognized the level of this sacred object at a glance. It was just a relatively common sacred object. Then let the people pay more attention. The Xuanxu sacred world is very extraordinary. I am afraid that more sacred objects will be born in the future. These sacred objects must stay in the human race. Yi Tian reminded. It's 590. Yi Xingchen nodded. In the following days, the treasures born in the Xuanxu Holy Realm are indeed more and more precious, and although there is no more holy artifact born in a short period of time, many forbidden treasures have been born, and many special treasures have also been born. The treasures are of great help to the ancestors of the domain. Moreover, some treasures that can assist in the cultivation of the holy body were also born. In fact, it is impossible for the general holy world to be like this. However, the Xuanxu Holy Realm was promoted due to the creation of the Hunyuan well. In fact, under the influence of the creation Hunyuanj, the Xuanxu sacred realm is still growing, but it will take a long time to grow to the ancestral realm. It is precisely because it has been growing that Xuanxu Holy Realm can continue to give birth to these precious treasures. This day, the birth of a treasure land even caught Yi Tian's attention, and he went out. Xuanxu Holy Realm, a new world. At this time, a large number of domain ancestors and half-step domain ancestors of the human race gathered here, and even some domain ancestors from other forces came here, but they did not enter this world. Because this world has been blocked by the human race, and no one is allowed to enter. Perhaps those top domain ancestors could ignore the domain ancestors of these human races, but no one dared to ignore Yi Tian. If they dared to trespass and anger Yi Tian, they would be dead. Therefore, these domain ancestors are very honest, they only watch the fun, but they dare not break into this world. In fact, they don't know much about the situation in this world. They only know that the ancestors of the human race have gained great benefits from this new world. This is an unimaginable treasure, but the specific situation has been blocked. Wow, Yi Tian tearing the void came. I have seen the ancestors of Wanvaiu. I have seen the ally. Everyone respectfully said. Yi Tian nodded and immediately entered this new world. And some domain ancestors of the human race also entered, but only a few people were allowed to enter. Myriad Fa Yuzu, after we discovered this new world, we immediately blocked it. A human race domain ancestor said. Yi Tian's consciousness swept the new world, and immediately made multiple judgments to determine the situation of this world. To outsiders, this world is very strange. The whole world is composed of a special white crystal, and there are countless black shadows in the void, which is somewhat similar to the hallucinations of the dark forbidden area. However, this is not a hallucination, but a real shadow. These shadows will continue to attack the souls of the ancestors of the domain, but this attack is similar to tempering the soul. If it can withstand the attack of a large number of black shadows, the effect of soul tempering will be very good. The closer you are to the loyalty of the world, the greater the number of black shadows. Even ordinary ancestors cannot enter the center of the world, otherwise their souls will be torn apart by black shadows. In addition, there are still some treasures born in this world, such as a crystal flower not far away. Ordinary people may not know this kind of flower, but Yi Tian does. There is a record in the War Gate. This is a kind of soul crystal holy flower that can greatly increase the soul of the ancestors of the domain, and can even assist in the cultivation of some soul secret arts. All in all, it's very useful. This world should be the Soul Holy Realm, a very rare treasure in the Dark Sanctuary. There are not many Soul Holy Realms in the entire Dark Sanctuary, and almost all of them are controlled by the Holy Land and the 10 Great Sacred Gates. Yi Tian secretly said. The Soul Saint Realm is very important to the ancestors of the domain, and it is the most important place to temper the soul. The key point is that when a domain ancestor tempers his soul in a soul holy world, the effect will gradually deteriorate with the passage of time. Once a soul holy world has no effect on a domain ancestor, if you want to continue to temper your soul, you must go to other soul holy worlds. Therefore, the 10 great saints and the geniuses of the Holy Land almost all have to pay a great price if they want to go to other soul holy realms to temper their souls. Soul Saint Realm can temper the souls of the ancestors of the domain, but its most precious treasure is the Soul Saint Realm flower. The biggest use of the Soul Saint Realm flower is to help the Supreme Power ancestor to hit the invincible realm. The soul has huge demands. To be promoted to the invincible domain ancestor, the soul must grow to the extreme and give birth to the holy light of soul. Invincible domain body, soul holy light. These two conditions are the necessary conditions for promotion to the invincible domain ancestor. Therefore, there are many supreme ancestors in the dark sanctuary, but the number of invincible ancestors has dropped sharply, because it is too difficult for the soul to generate the holy light of the soul. For example, the hundreds of thousands of giant city-level forces in the dark sanctuary, some giant city-level forces are very powerful, and even have many supreme domain ancestors, but it is difficult to give birth to an invincible domain ancestor, that is, there is no way to give birth to the soul holy light. It is much easier for the top 10 holy gates and holy places to give birth to the invincible domain ancestors, because they have many treasures that can help the supreme domain ancestors break through, and one of the treasures is the soul holy world flower. A single soul sanctuary flower is enough to make an invincible ancestor. Because of this, the Soul Saint Realm is very precious in the Dark Saint Realm. Soul Saint Realm takes a long time to give birth to a single plant, and none of the top 10 holy gates necessarily have Soul 5.8 Saint Realm flower. Once it is really born, it will be used as soon as possible. This Soul Saint Realm of Xuanxu Saint Realm is now. I am afraid that it will be difficult to give birth to the flower of the Holy Spirit Realm, and it will take a long time. Yi Tian thought to himself. However, even if there is no birth of the Soul Sacred World flower, its value is unimaginable. It can let the ancestors of the tribe enter here to temper the soul, and the hope of future breakthroughs will be much greater, and the time for tempering the soul will be reduced. For example, Yi Tian himself, he usually spends more time tempering his soul, and now that he has the Soul Holy Realm, there is no need to give birth to the problem of soul tempering. In fact, if he enters the War Gate, he can also enter the Soul Holy Realm of the War Gate to temper his soul. But Zonman is in the Dark Sanctuary, and he will not go to the Dark Sanctuary for the time being, so he cannot enjoy that kind of treatment. But now, he can enjoy this kind of treatment when he stays in the Xuanxu Holy Realm. Chapter 1370 The War Sect is here. Knowing the existence of the Soul Saint Realm, Yi Tian immediately arranged for the ancestors of the human race to enter the Soul Saint Realm for cultivation. Yi Tian's body also entered the Soul Holy Realm to cultivate, and continuously tempered his soul with the help of the Soul Holy Realm. In terms of practice, the holy body is tempered with the help of ancestral medicine. The pure power has the ancestral method of the endless domain, but the tempering of the soul can only rely on a few treasures, and the tempering effect is very general. But now, with the help of Soul Saint Realm, there is no need to worry about tempering the soul. Maybe it won't be too long before Yi Tian can use the Soul Saint Realm to refine his soul to the limit of the current realm. When the domain body and domain power are cultivated to the extreme and pure, they can hit the top domain ancestor realm. Moreover, in the future, Yi Tian will have more hope when he attacks the invincible domain ancestor realm. After all, he owns a Soul Holy Realm, and he can go to the Soul Holy Realm of Zonman in the future, which is equivalent to one more chance to enter the Soul Holy Realm for cultivation than other geniuses. Therefore, the hope for the birth of Soul Holy Light is naturally much greater. 29 More importantly, the Xuanxu Holy Realm may have a second Soul Holy Realm, or even a third Soul Holy Realm, in the future. If after a long time, the Xuanxu Sacred Realm evolved into the Xuanxu Ancestral Realm, then a random chance would be enough to make Yi Tian make great progress. Yi Tian originally wanted to continue cultivating in the Soul Saint Realm of Xuanxu Saint Realm, but something happened that day. Inside the battlefield tower, Yi Tian's clone body received a summons from Zonman, and there was a meeting for him to attend. As the first son of Zonman, and an elite domain ancestor, Yi Tian's status in Zonman is not low now, so it is very normal to participate in the meeting. However, this meeting was not easy. Before, Yi Tian also participated in several meetings, but it was basically a meeting between several supreme domain ancestors and a large number of top domain ancestors, and the things discussed were also small things. But this time is different. When Yi Tian appeared in an exclusive and independent space in the War Realm Tower, one of the strongest domain ancestors appeared, and there were many invincible domain ancestors. And there are some top domain ancestors, but not many, and they are all holy sons of war. The one with the lowest cultivation level is naturally Yi Tian, but under the supreme power domain ancestor, Yi Tian's status is the highest. After all, the other saint sons are under him. So many invincible ancestors have appeared, this meeting is not easy. Yi Tian thought to himself. The invincible domain ancestor who presided over this meeting was Yi Tian's old acquaintance, the Blood Gang domain ancestor. Seeing that it was almost time for the arrival of the Blood Gang domain ancestor, he looked at Yi Tian. At this time, many domain ancestors also stared at Yi Tian. This is, Yi Tian saw this scene and felt that this meeting had something to do with him, otherwise so many domain ancestors would not be staring at him. The ancestor of the Blood Gang domain said, "Son of 10,000 laws, this meeting has something to do with you. Now a news comes out that your realm has evolved into a super large realm, and a holy realm, the holy realm, has been born. There was also the birth of the soul sacred realm. This should be true, right?" Yi Tian's expression changed, and he finally knew the reason. It turns out that the root of everything comes from the Soul Saint realm, and Zanman already knows the existence of the Soul Saint realm. But think about it carefully, how precious Soul Holy realm is. Maybe no one knew about it at first, but the ancestors of the human race will definitely not completely block the news of Soul Holy realm. You almost know the Soul Saint realm. Moreover, the evolution of the Daoshan boundary is known to everyone. Half-step domain ancestors and domain ancestors of Daoshan realm can enter the Battle Realm Tower. Anyone who leaks the news will not be able to hide the evolution of Daoshan realm. Therefore, the evolution of the Daoshan boundary attracted the attention of Zanman. After all, the birth of a holy world, and the birth of a soul holy world, this is no small matter. Few of the sects in the Dark Sanctuary can master the sanctuary, only those sects who have fallen from the Holy Land can master a holy world. Of course, those sects would not cross such a long territory and go to the Daoshan territory to occupy a holy realm, it would not be worth it. After all, their foundation is in the Dark Sanctuary. Compared with the Dark Sanctuary, the Daoshan realm is not worth mentioning, at least not currently. However, many domain ancestors are very interested in the resources that a holy world was born. Moreover, the value of the Soul Saint realm is very high, and even the most powerful ancestors of them will be moved. It is true, Yi Tian admitted it. There is no way to deny this matter. There are so many practitioners in the Daoshan realm who have entered the War Realm Pagoda. It is useless for him to deny it alone. The ancestor of the Blood Gangland said again, "Holy son of 10,000 laws, why the realm you are in is promoted, we are not sure, but the value of a holy realm and a soul holy realm is very high. Many supreme ancestors are distressed by the soul holy light. One problem, the soul holy realm of the dark holy realm is basically in the hands of the 10 holy gates and some holy places. It is difficult for those supreme ancestors to get the quota to enter the soul holy realm. Even if they can enter occasionally, the time for cultivation is too short. Therefore, the soul holy realm born in your realm will probably attract many supreme ancestors. More importantly, if the soul holy realm produces the soul holy realm flower, it can create an invincible realm ancestor. So, there must be many supreme ancestors who covet the soul holy realm." "I see." Yi Tian nodded. The Blood Gang domain ancestor continued. "A lot of the domain ancestors in the War Gate are also very interested in that soul holy world, and many domain ancestors want to enter the soul holy world of your realm 590 to practice for a period of time, so start this session and ask for your opinion." "No problem," Yi Tian said quickly. "However, these domain ancestors must not cause trouble when they enter my territory, and they must obey my arrangements. If you don't want to, then don't come." "No problem." The ancestor of the Blood Gang domain nodded. The other supreme ancestors also nodded. They didn't want to care about other things, they just thought about cultivation. After all, entering the brand new Soul Saint realm to practice, this is also an opportunity for them, and it is a free opportunity. The reason why Yi Tian agreed was not to give Zanman face, but because the news of the Soul Saint realm must have been exposed, and the Dark Saint realm coveted this Soul Saint realm's supreme ancestors. It is difficult for him to compete alone, and the domain ancestors of the War Gate are willing to come. That is a good thing, at least it can deter other supreme domain ancestors. Subsequently, everyone discussed it and determined a rough quota. This time, Zanman will send 200 supreme domain ancestors and 30,000 top domain ancestors to the Soul Saint realm. It's not that Zonman doesn't want to send more people, but if there are too many people, Soul Holy Realm can't support too many people to comprehend and cultivate, so they can only send so many people. Chapter 1371. The Domain Ancestors are here. 200 Supreme Domain Ancestors, more than 30,000 top Domain Ancestors. Such a scale does not know how many times beyond the Daoshan boundary, and any of those top Domain Ancestors can crush the Domain Ancestors in the Daoshan boundary. After all, this is the top Domain Ancestor of Zonman, a real member, not a vassal Domain Ancestor. Of course, they were not recruited from outside like Yi-Tian. The 10 great sacred sects had very high requirements for recruiting outside geniuses. They had to be geniuses at the top of the myriads ranking or the 1 ranking, otherwise they would not be eligible to enter the war sect. It doesn't mean that there are fewer people in Zonman. In fact, the descendants born of Zonman's predecessors have very low requirements to join Zonman. For example, both parents are the strongest ancestors of Zonman, and the children born, as long as they are not too bad, can become disciples of Zonman, but they are not holy sons, just ordinary disciples. The ancestors of the domain have endless lifespans and will not die due to the exhaustion of lifespan. The accumulation of endless years, one can imagine how many people there are in the war sect. It is definitely a very terrifying number. Even Yi-Tian is not clear about the war sect now. Specific strength. In addition to the war gate, many other power ancestors were dispatched, and many top domain ancestors also went to the Daoshan realm. However, the top domain ancestors who dare to act alone are all very demonic top domain ancestors. Otherwise, they will not be able to cross the Forbidden River. Most of the top domain ancestors dare to cross the taboo under the protection of the strongest domain ancestors, river. The Daoshan realm is relatively far from the Dark Sanctuary, but the ancestors of the super strong realm are very fast, and there are treasures specially used for traveling through the Dark Forbidden Realm. Therefore, it didn't take too long for these ancestors to reach the Daoshan realm. In addition, the coordinates of the Daoshan boundary have long been exposed. After all, the rare treasures that are specially positioned are handed over to the domain ancestors of the Daoshan boundary and brought to the Daoshan boundary, and they can be located. And the Battle Realm Tower of War Gate can actually be used to locate, so even if Yi-Tian doesn't reveal the location of Daoshan realm, he can't hide from those forces in the Dark Sanctuary. At the speed of the strongest ancestors of the Dark Sanctuary, I am afraid that it will only take 800,000 years for the first batch of ancestors to arrive here. Yi-Tian muttered. In fact, he naturally doesn't like the ancestors of the Dark Sanctuary to come here, which is equivalent to grabbing the resources of the Xuanxu Sanctuary. However, he couldn't stop it. Of course, the ancestors of the Dark Sanctuary came here, not without any benefits. First of all, this invisibly strengthens the strength of the Daoshan boundary, and it is enough to stimulate the cultivation power of the Daoshan boundary. If some supreme ancestors are willing to stay here forever, it is equivalent to adding a new force to the Daoshan boundary. This is a good thing. The premise is that he must be able to restrain these powerhouses, otherwise the Daoshan boundary will be very chaotic. With Yi-Tian's strength, it is indeed no problem to crush the General Supreme Strong Domain Ancestor, but the Supreme Strong Domain Ancestor from the Dark Sanctuary is not an ordinary Supreme Strong Domain Ancestor. Some of the Supreme Strong Domain Ancestors are also geniuses, and their combat effectiveness is very high. Fear. Even some of the strongest ancestors were once first-class saints. Therefore, Yi-Tian is now afraid that he is far from their opponent. However, Yi-Tian is equivalent to the Lord of the Xuanxu Sacred Realm. Within the Xuanxu Sacred Realm, his strength will be very terrifying, at least the combat power is dozens of times stronger. Therefore, even if it is the top Supreme Domain Ancestor, he is sure to suppress it. Moreover, once Yi-Tian's cultivation base has risen to the top Domain Ancestor level, as long as he does not leave the Xuanxu Holy Realm, he can suppress everything. Time passed slowly, and 800,000 years passed in a blink of an eye. Daoshan boundary. Not far from here, the space was torn apart, and a famous ancestor walked out of the void. They are the domain ancestors of Zonman, and tens of thousands of domain ancestors flew to the Daoshan realm. It really is a super large realm. Such realms are very rare. I didn't expect a small realm to evolve into a super large realm. 1. A domain ancestor exclaimed, let's go see the son of all Dharma. Many domain ancestors flew into the Daoshan realm and flew to the Xuanxu Holy Realm. The arrival of so many powerful domain ancestors and top domain ancestors really shocked the domain ancestors in the Daoshan world. So many Xian domain ancestors. The ancestor of 10,000 realms was shocked. Although he had long known from Yi-Tian that the domain ancestors of the Dark Sanctuary would descend on the Daoshan domain. But in the face of so many supreme ancestors, he was still very shocked. Although the Battle Realm Pagoda also has the ancestors of the strong domain, but usually there are not so many ancestors of the strong domain. Because they have reached the level of the ancestors of the strong domain, the Battle World Tower is just a place for them to chat, and it is not of great help. Moreover, the opportunity that the Shanqiang ancestors needed, the Battle Realm Tower could not provide. Therefore, when the ancestors of Wan Jiyu entered the War Realm Tower, the ancestors they usually saw were ordinary ancestors or top ancestors, and occasionally they could see some of the most powerful ancestors. Now, 200 top strong domain ancestors appeared together, which was too shocking for him. Mysterious Holy Realm. The domain ancestors of Zanman came here, and they all saw the Xuanshu Holy Realm. It really is the Holy Realm. The Holy Realm was born in the realm, it's too strange. Some domain ancestors wondered. Another domain ancestor said, everything will be born in the dark forbidden domain, and it is not impossible for the holy world to be born in a super large domain. Let's go, enter. Many domain ancestors entered the Xuanshu Holy Realm one after another, and Yi Tian also appeared at the first time. Soon, the two sides met. Have seen the son of all laws. Many domain ancestors said politely. After all, they are guests, Yi Tian is the master here, and they naturally want guests, Li Nuos, a lot. Moreover, Yi Tian is the first holy son, and his status is not ordinary. Even the ancestors of the supreme domain will not disrespect him. You domain ancestors, I have arranged accommodation for you, please come with me. Yi Tian brought the many domain ancestors of the War Gate to a new void world. This void world is very large and the cultivation environment is good. It is not bad to arrange them to live here. After the accommodation is arranged, one of the strongest ancestors, who can be regarded as their representative, the ancestor of the real spirit, said, the ancestors of the 10,000 law, we want to enter the soul holy world to cultivate, I wonder if we can. The true spirit domain ancestor is a strong man at the peak of the supreme domain ancestor. He was also a holy son at the beginning, and his strength is very powerful. If the soul did not reach the level of the birth of the holy light of the soul, otherwise it would have already entered the level of the invincible domain ancestor. Yi Tian agreed, but then he made some demands. Chapter 1372 Yi Tian and #039's request. Looking at the many domain ancestors, Yi Tian opened the mouth and said, everyone, you are also very clear about how precious the soul holy world is. For your sake as the War Gate domain ancestors, each of you can enter the soul holy world. Understand the years of 10 million years. Of course, it is not impossible for you to continue to cultivate in the soul saint realm, but you need to contribute. For example, you can cultivate some strong people for the human race, or do some tasks released by the human race, etc. You can get some points, and you can use the points to enter the spiritual world to practice. Holy Son of 10,000 laws, are you using us to cultivate the genius of the human race? A supreme ancestor frowned. If you don't want it, you will leave the Xuanshu sacred realm after cultivating for 10 million years. In that case, you don't need to cultivate geniuses for our human race. Yi Tian said with a smile. Many domain ancestors looked at each other, not knowing what to say. How can 10 million years be enough? A soul holy world is enough for them to understand tens of billions of years before they gradually lose their effect. 10 million years is only a fraction. I promise, one of the strongest domain ancestors said. Immediately, the other supreme ancestors agreed one by one. By 590 is just cultivating some human geniuses, or accepting some human race tasks, these are nothing, as long as you can enter the soul holy world to practice, paying this price is nothing. If it is in the dark sanctuary, even if it is the soul sanctuary of the War Gate, if they want to enter the spiritual sanctuary, they will have to pay some price, live. Therefore, Yi Tian's request was nothing at all. Of course, there are also the supreme power domain ancestors who are not very happy, thinking that Yi Tian's soul saint realm should belong to the war sect. But most of the ancestors agreed, and they were naturally not good at refuting. Moreover, this is not the dark sanctuary, it is not suitable to offend Yi Tian here, so he can only choose to agree. After these domain ancestors agreed, Yi Tian signed an agreement with them, and then brought them into the soul saint realm. There are so many top domain ancestors and strong domain ancestors, and their knowledge and background far exceed the domain ancestors of the human race. If they cultivate geniuses of the human race will inevitably give birth to that kind of real genius. After endless years, the human race will be born. Wei CJFI has become very powerful, and it is very worthwhile to exchange the time of cultivation in a soul holy world for the opportunity to strengthen the human race. Yi Tian thought to himself. Subsequently, 200 supreme domain ancestors and many top domain ancestors entered the soul saint realm to practice one by one, and began to use the soul saint realm to temper their souls. At the same time, other ancestors of the dark sanctuary also came to the Daoshan realm one after another. And the purpose of their coming here is very simple, that is, the soul saint realm. However, these domain ancestors learned that the war gate also sent a large number of domain ancestors, so it is not good to directly force Yi Tian. But they wanted to enter the soul saint realm to practice, so they all looked for Yi Tian. Xuanshu Holy Realm, War Realm Void. Some domain ancestors of the dark sanctuary came here. Yi Tian also gave them face, and met the first batch of domain ancestors here. The first batch of domain ancestors came from a holy place, 1,000 sacred places. The 1,000-layer Holy Land is a powerful holy land that ranks in the top 20 among the 72 holy lands of the dark sanctuary. But among the ancestors of the 1,000-fold Holy Land, the one headed was a top domain ancestor and a holy son of the 1,000-fold Holy Land. This holy son is also very extraordinary. It is said that he has once been at the level of the homecoming, and is also ranked among the top 100 on the homecoming list, and his combat power is very strong. But now, he has become the top domain ancestor, and he has practiced for a long time. He does not know how many supreme domain ancestors he killed, and his reputation in the dark sanctuary is also very loud. This holy son is the holy son of Wu Ling. Have seen the son of all laws. 1. Holy son Wu Ling led a group of supreme ancestors to see Yi Tian, very polite. He didn't dare to underestimate Yi Tian's cultivation as an elite domain ancestor. He had already investigated Yi Tian's situation before he came. The first holy war, mastered many holy skills, the strength is extremely terrifying. The saints are very enchanting, unless they reach the top-level domain ancestor level, it is difficult for these domain ancestors to compete with the saints. And Yi Tian is not only a saint, but also a saint who has many saints. Although Yi Tian's identity is only an ordinary creature in the realm, not the descendant of the supreme domain ancestor, but the high-level members of the dark sanctuary are very clear that only the supreme domain ancestor can give birth to the descendants of the saints. Therefore, Yi Tian's current identity, they will not take it seriously. In their opinion, Yi Tian must be the descendant of two supreme domain ancestors, so he didn't dare to underestimate Yi Tian, and he tried his best not to offend him if he could. Of course, he is not afraid of Yi Tian. As long as he doesn't kill Yi Tian, he doesn't believe that the supreme domain ancestor will not embarrass a small person like him. In short, his purpose today is the soul saint realm. Saint Wu Ling is very polite, please sit down. Yi Tian said with a smile. The two sat down and started chatting. The holy son Wu Ling said, the holy son of Wanfa should know the purpose of my coming here. The soul holy realm has helped me a lot. It is very difficult for ordinary ancestors to give birth to the holy light of soul, and there is almost no hope. The holy realm can temper the souls of our ancestors, which is something that cannot be achieved by tempering the soul treasure. Therefore, we must use the soul holy realm to practice one by one. However, there are not many soul holy realms in the dark holy realm. The major forces control the quota of the soul holy realm very strictly, and even many forces do not allow the soul holy realm to be cultivated by outsiders. I am still a long way from the birth of the soul holy light, and the Xuanshu holy realm has given birth to a soul holy realm. Not to mention, this soul saint realm has made many forces greedy. As long as the holy son of 10,000 laws allows me to enter the soul saint realm, I will definitely stand on the side of the holy son of all laws, and other forces will embarrass the holy son of all laws in the future. Son, my holy son Wu Ling will definitely help. Sacred son Wu Ling, do you think too much about entering the soul saint realm for nothing? Besides, I am the first saint son of the war sect. Do you think the domain ancestor of the war sect will not be able to protect me? Yi Tian sneered. Holy son Wu Ling knew that he wanted to cheat the quota, but he couldn't do it, so he changed his mouth and said, Holy son of Wanfa, tell me, how can I enter the soul saint realm? Yi Tian pondered. He Chu, his own holy son, or ancestors, it is difficult for the war gate to protect him. Even if he could protect him, he couldn't protect the human race. The human race is now too weak to offend too many domain ancestors. Well, if the holy son of Wu Ling builds 100,000 top realms for the human race in the Daoshan realm for free, I can give you 10 places, and you can practice in the Xuanshu holy realm for 100 million years. This should be very cost-effective, right? Yi Tian made a request. Chapter 1373 Attack the Realm of the Top Domain Ancestors. 100,000 realms. Holy Sun Wuling frowned. The top realm is worthless in his eyes. Any realm ancestor can build one with a few resources, but it takes some time to build a realm, but it takes some time to build 100,000 realm take a lot of time. How about 10,000 realms? Holy Sun Wuling bargained. No, 100,000 seats or 100,000 seats. Yi Tian said firmly. Although the development of the Daoshan boundary is good now, there are too few boundaries. The entire Daoshan boundary appears to be very empty, and many frontiers are empty. It is possible to build a domain, and the domain ancestors need to take action, and the domain ancestors of the human race are not willing to waste resources to build a domain, because the Xuanxu Holy World is not known how many times better than the domain, and any small place here is far better than the domain, of high value. And Yi Tian is naturally too lazy to build a domain, he doesn't have that much spare time. Now, the domain ancestors of the Dark Sanctuary are here, and naturally they should make more use of them and let them build more domains. In the future, a group of mortals can be transferred into these domains. The area is also involved, and the development of strength. 100,000 realms are actually not enough, but if the Holy Son of Wuling builds too many realms, the other party will definitely not do it. Although the 100,000 realms would also embarrass the Holy Son of Wuling, Yi Tian believed that the Holy Son of Wuling would eventually agree. At this moment, Holy Son Wuling hesitated. But in the end, he still nodded and agreed. Okay, I am willing to build 100,000 realms. However, I hope to enter the Soul Holy Realm while building, how about it? Can. Yi Tian agreed. After reaching the agreement, the Holy Son of Wuling is still relatively happy, at least this time the purpose has been initially achieved. In the days that followed, Yi Tian met quite a few domain ancestors from the Dark Sanctuary, and they all made a lot of requests, some of them agreed, but some did not. Until the end, Yi Tian no longer allowed foreign ancestors to enter the Soul Saint realm for enlightenment and cultivation, because there were enough places, and if anyone else entered, it would burden the Soul Saint realm. In fact, letting a large number of ancestors enter the Soul Saint realm for cultivation like Yi Tian will increase the load on the Soul Saint realm, which will lead to a longer time for the Soul Saint realm to give birth to the Soul Saint realm flower. Other forces basically don't do this, but Yi Tian doesn't care. He is deeply aware of the potential of the Xuanxu Holy Realm, and a mere Soul Holy Realm is nothing. Today, he uses this Soul Holy Realm to continuously squeeze the use value of the ancestors of the Dark Sanctuary, thereby strengthening the human race. Even if the Soul Saint realm is gone, he will not feel heartache. The years passed slowly, and with the help of many ancestors of the Dark Sanctuary, the human race grew stronger and stronger. A large number of domains were built in many empty domains in the Daoshan domain, and countless human races moved to these domains. Moreover, the geniuses of the human race were born one by one, and the human race born in the Xuanxu Holy Realm was not bad. There is no shortage of resources, no shortage of strong guidance, and no shortage of talent. Under such circumstances, the domain ancestors of the human race emerged crazily. Even the domain ancestors from the War Gate have to admit that the potential of the human race is very high, and if they enter the Dark Sanctuary in the future, they are also qualified to become a powerful cultivation race. Leader, this is the information collected recently. The ancestor of myriad realms bent over and stood beside Yi Tian. AA took out a piece of information and handed it to Yi Tian. Today's 10,000 realms domain ancestor interprets what is called a dog leg, and has already become Yi Tian's best younger brother. He also investigated the situation of those domain ancestors in the Dark Sanctuary according to Yi Tian's instructions. Yi Tian looked at the information and immediately understood the current situation. I didn't expect so many domain ancestors to come. Yi Tian was a little surprised. Among them, many ancestors have never looked for him at all, and have not made any moves, but are waiting for something. Yi Tian knows exactly what they are waiting for. It must be waiting for the flower of the Soul Saint realm. Once you get the Soul Sacred Realm flower, you will be 100% able to become the invincible domain ancestor. Under normal circumstances, the birth of the Soul Saint realm flower takes an extremely long time, but the Soul Saint realm has just been born. For the ancestors of the strong domain, the mere hundreds of millions of years are nothing at all, just a small retreat time. So, they can wait. Ask for flowers. It is conceivable that once the Soul Holy Realm flower is born, the fighting will be very tragic. However, what they didn't know was that Yi Tian was able to exert a very terrifying combat power in the Xuanxu Holy Realm. After all, even if an ordinary domain ancestor became the master of the holy world, the strength he exerted would not be too strong, and his combat power would be doubled at most. But the Xuanchu Holy Realm was created by the Creation Hunyuan Well, and Yi Tian was the owner of the Creation Hunyuan Well, so he was naturally able to use the Creation Hunyuan Well and the Xuanchu Holy Realm to burst out incomparably terrifying combat power. The next goal is to first break through to the top domain ancestor realm. Once I break through to the top domain ancestor realm, my strength will skyrocket. Yi Tian thought to himself. 0. Therefore, Yi Tian then worked hard to temper his soul, cultivate the pure power of the endless domain law, and strive to raise his own strength to the extreme of the elite domain ancestors as soon as possible, and then go to the top domain ancestor level. Time passed slowly, and in the blink of an eye, 80 million years passed. This day, with the help of the Xuanchu Sacred Realm and the Hunyuan Well of Creation, Yi Tian has made great progress in the cultivation of the endless domain law, an extreme level. In other words, Yi Tian can break through. Then break through. Yi Tian began to attack the top domain ancestor realm. Boom! With the help of the endless domain law, Yi Tian's elite domain body began to transform, evolving towards the top domain body. Countless energies poured into Yi Tian's body, helping him to complete his breakthrough. Under normal circumstances, when a domain ancestor breaks through, the movement must be very large. And Yi Tian is the master of the Xuanchu Holy Realm, so he let the source of the Xuanchu Holy Realm cover up the breakthrough breath for him, so no one else knows that he is attacking the top domain ancestor realm. Such caution is necessary. After all, there are too many domain ancestors from the Dark Sanctuary this time, and many of them are afraid that they have a grudge against the war sect. In case any supreme domain ancestor attacks him when he breaks through, even if it is not his, the opponent can also interfere with his breakthrough, causing him to fail to break through, thus affecting the foundation problem. Therefore, he must be careful. Chapter 1374 The Soul Sacred World Flower was born. After a long time, Yi Tian finally completed his breakthrough. At this moment, his domain body has stepped from the elite domain body level to the top domain body level, and his cultivation base has reached the top domain ancestor realm. At this moment, Yi Tian's strength is much stronger than in the past. Today, when the general supreme ancestors fight against him, he can easily kill them in seconds. Even some very powerful supreme ancestors are not his opponents. Of course, that kind of powerhouse who used to be a holy son and now has cultivated to the peak realm of the supreme ancestor, he is probably not an opponent, unless he can cultivate a holy skill to the extreme realm, or raise his cultivation base to only at the peak realm of the top domain body. Can you be sure to compete with such a strong domain ancestor? It is naturally very difficult to cultivate holy skills to the extreme realm, but it is not too difficult to raise the cultivation base to the peak realm of the top domain body. After all, Yi Tian still has ancestral medicine in his hand, and using the ancestral medicine, he can easily raise his cultivation base to 590 to the peak realm of the top domain ancestors. Therefore, Yi Tian continued to retreat, absorbing the refining ancestor medicine. After hundreds of thousands of years, Yi Tian, with the help of the energy of the ancestral medicine, finally tempered the top domain body to the peak realm, and the cultivation base also reached the peak domain ancestor peak realm. At this time, Yi Tian's own strength is comparable to those of the most powerful ancestors. If he uses the power of the Xuanchu Sacred Realm, he can even suppress those more evil ancestors. Certainly, if many supreme domain ancestors combine, he still can't stop it. However, he has Zanman as his backing, so he is not worried. Originally, Yi Tian thought that it would take a long time for the flower of the Soul Holy Realm to be born, but on this day, the origin of the Xuanchu Holy Realm increased again. Almost every period of time, the creation of the primordial well will cause the source of the Xuanchu sacred world to skyrocket, but it is invisible on the surface. After all, if the Xuanchu sacred realm no longer evolves into the ancestral realm, no matter how the source is soaring, the Xuanchu sacred realm is still so big. However, because the source of the Xuanchu holy realm has skyrocketed, the speed of the creation of resources in the Xuanchu holy realm has accelerated a lot, and I am afraid that many extremely precious resources will be born in the future. And the origin of the Soul Holy Realm has naturally skyrocketed, resulting in the birth of the Soul Holy Realm flower much faster. This day, Soul Sacred World Flower was born. In the Soul Holy Realm, many domain ancestors are using the Soul Holy Realm to temper their souls. Unexpected, a unique wave was transmitted, causing all the ancestors of the domain to shake their souls, and they all looked at the central area of the Soul Saint Realm. Swish! An ancestor of the domain quickly rushed to the center of the soul holy world. However, the domain ancestors with lower strength could not enter the center of the soul saint realm, and their souls could not withstand the impact of the black shadow. If they forcibly entered there, they would directly crush their souls and die. Of course, if the top domain ancestors used the defensive soul secret technique and some soul domain devices, they could still resist the black shadow impact. The domain ancestors of Zonman and a few domain ancestors from other forces came to the central area of AA Soul Saint realm one after another. Here, they saw the flower of the Soul Saint realm. At this time, the flower of the soul sacred world has just been conceived, and it will take some time for it to fully grow. And there are countless black shadows near the flower of the soul saint realm, some of which are very huge, like a mountain. This kind of black shadow like a mountain can't be stopped even by an ordinary supreme ancestor. And so many black shadows surround the soul sacred world flower, almost covering it. If anyone dares to pick the flower of the soul sacred realm, he will definitely withstand the impact of these countless shadows. I am afraid that the top supreme ancestors will also be instantly torn apart by countless black shadows and die. Certainly, the top domain ancestors did not dare to pick the flower of the soul holy world, but the ancestors of the supreme domain had a way to pick the flower of the soul holy world. Not long after, Yi Tian came. After all, when a treasure like the soul saint realm flower was born, it was naturally impossible for him not to appear. Boom, Yi Tian appeared, and everyone's eyes turned to Yi Tian. Holy son of 10,000 laws, the flower of the Holy Spirit realm is of great use to me, I want to buy it, can I? The True Spirit Domain Ancestor said. True Spirit Domain Ancestor, Soul Saint Realm flower can create an invincible domain ancestor, do you think I will sell it to you? It was born in my Soul Saint Realm and naturally belongs to me. I hope you don't snatch it, otherwise you will be offended. Yi Tian said coldly. These domain ancestors of the War Gate really wanted the flower of the Soul Saint Realm, but this flower belonged to Yi Tian after all. If it was robbed, it would undoubtedly offend Yi Tian. But if you choose not to snatch, then this opportunity will be lost. Some domain ancestors who felt that there was no hope of snatching the Soul Saint Realm flower shook their heads and chose to give up. But the True Spirit Domain Ancestor, such a powerful domain ancestor with shocking combat power, was a little unwilling. As for offending Yi Tian, he actually didn't worry about anything. If he really grabbed the Soul Saint Realm flower and became the invincible domain ancestor in the future, he would have offended Yi Tian, and he was afraid that Yi Tian would kill him in the future. Yi Tian is a genius, but he also has a backer. Of course, in this situation, he will not directly say it. At that time, if there is hope to snatch the Soul Saint Realm flower, he will still take action. At this time, another supreme ancestor, Bai Lengyu, said, Sacred Son of 10,000 Laws, you are also very clear about the preciousness of the flower of the Soul Saint Realm, and you can't keep it by yourself. Auction the Soul Holy World flower to us, the one with the highest price will get it, and then we will help you resist the superpower ancestors of other forces together. Otherwise, we may not be able to keep this soul with so many attacks by the superpower realm ancestors. Holy World Flower. The ancestor of Bai Lengyu was also a holy son at the beginning, and his strength was second only to that of the ancestor of the real spirit domain. At this time, Bai Lengyu's words showed that if Yi Tian was unwilling to sell the Soul Saint Realm flower, then they would not try their best to keep the Soul Saint Realm flower, and they would probably release water when they fought. In that case, with Yi Tian's strength, there is no way to keep the Soul Saint Realm flower. Everyone, I also don't ask you to block the attacks of other Supreme Domain ancestors, but if it is you are not allowed to enter my holy world to practice, and you are not allowed to enter the Xuanshu holy world. Yi Tian reminded. However, Bai Lengyu and Zhen Lingyu did not seem to care much about Yi Tian's threat. In fact, although they are afraid of Yi Tian, they are not afraid of Yi Tian. Among the war gates, there are also many 5.8 factions, which are also competitive with each other. If it wasn't for Yi Tian's good luck, occupying the Xuanshu sacred realm, and Yi Tian's status was unusual, otherwise they would have banned Yi Tian's position and occupied this sacred realm. Soul Saint Realm flowers are too precious, if they really grab it, it doesn't matter if they never enter the Xuanshu Saint Realm. So, Yi Tian's threat is nothing to them. Yi Tian glanced at the many domain ancestors in the battle gate and some domain ancestors from other forces, and he knew very well that many domain ancestors here would probably take action. But he didn't care. Unless all the domain ancestors shot together, he alone could suppress them with just these domain ancestors. Yi Tian did not leave the soul sacred realm, but sat cross-legged here, using the black shadow to temper his soul, while waiting for the soul sacred realm flower to fully mature. Chapter 1375 The third level superpower ancestor fell. As time passed, another 100,000 years passed. This day, soul sacred world flower is finally mature. At the moment when the flower of the soul saint realm matured, one of the strongest ancestors took action. At the same time, the auras of powerful domain ancestors emerged one after another outside the Soul Saint realm, tearing apart the barriers of the world one by one and entering the Soul Saint realm. These supreme ancestors all rushed to the Soul Saint realm flower, and they all wanted to snatch the Soul Saint realm flower. Court death, Yi Tian shouted coldly. Immediately, he used the space holy skill virtual slash, and slashed at those supreme ancestors with one blow. Originally, Yi Tian couldn't kill several supreme power ancestors with one strike. After all, virtual slash was not a large-scale attacking holy technique, but many supreme power ancestors underestimated Yi Tian, and only activated the defensive sacred objects and defensive domain techniques, continued to rush towards the flower of the Soul Saint realm. Coupled with the impact of the countless black shadows, the strength they exerted was greatly reduced. Moreover, Yi Tian's attack is not weak. As a result, a famous ancestor of the strong domain was beheaded by Shuzan. 29. In an instant, dozens of the ancestors of the supreme domain fell, and several extremely powerful ancestors of the supreme domain were also injured, and they did not dare to rush to the flower of the soul holy world, or they would be torn apart by the black shadow, and it would be over. How can the holy son of 10,000 laws be so powerful? Many Xeon domain ancestors were shocked. Some of these supreme ancestors were once also holy sons, and their talents were also extremely powerful, and their combat power was very strong. And Yi Tian, even if he is a saint, is not the ancestor of the supreme domain, but only the ancestor of the top domain. It is too exaggerated to be able to kill so many ancestors of the supreme domain with one blow. Zanman's true spirit domain ancestor and Bai Leng domain ancestor also showed dignified expressions. Although on the surface, Yi Tian's strength was not enough to threaten them, he was indeed qualified to fight against them. The key point is that they are already at the peak of the supreme ancestors, and Yi Tian is the peak of the ancestors of the top domain. The gap between the two sides is a big realm. Monster, true spirit domain ancestor and Bai Leng domain ancestor secretly said. Seeing that Yi Tian's strength is not simple, they did not immediately grab the Soul Saint realm flower, but were still watching. Boom! Yi Tian was standing not far from the flower of the Soul Saint realm. The number of black shadows here was not very large, so he could still bear it. It's not that he doesn't want to take the Soul Sacred Realm flower immediately, but once he goes to pick the Soul Sacred Realm flower, if many other supreme ancestors attack him, he will be in a little danger. After all, the place where the Soul Sacred Realm flower is located has countless the black shadow of, once attacked by the outside world, it will be very dangerous. So, he has to be careful. At this time, he didn't want to reveal that he could control the Xuanshu Holy Realm to exert dozens of times of combat power. After all, this was his biggest trump card. If you can solve this problem perfectly without exposing such trump cards, it is naturally the best choice. Unless he is in a desperate situation, he will reveal this secret. Whoa! An extremely powerful Supreme Domain ancestor appeared here, but did not immediately take action. Among them, there are some Supreme Domain ancestors with special domain devices, which have changed their aura and appearance, seeming to deliberately hide their true identity. After all, they didn't want to offend Yi Tian either. Holy Son of 10,000 Laws, you better get out of the way. Your strength is indeed very strong, but you still can't compete with so many of our superpower ancestors. The flower of the Soul Holy Realm is too precious, you can't keep it. A superpower field Zhu opened his mouth. This supreme ancestor hides his appearance and aura, so no one knows his identity. But his hiding in Yi Tian's eyes is nothing to this. Yi Tian used the copy talent to investigate, and he knew his identity. Ancestor of Mu Yu, what else are you hiding? If you dare to snatch it, then do it. I'll kill you no problem. Yi Tian said coldly. You, how do you know my identity? Mu Yuzu was stunned. He hides his aura and appearance like this, even the invincible domain ancestor is difficult to see through, and no matter how powerful Yi Tian is, he is only a top domain ancestor, and he can't see through his disguise at all. At this time, many Shanqiang ancestors were hesitating, should they join? However, they also know that Yi Tian's strength is very powerful, otherwise, they would not be able to kill dozens of supreme power domain ancestors in seconds. If the saints in the peak realm of the Supreme Ancestors are divided into the first grade of the Supreme Ancestors, the peak of the Supreme Ancestors achieved by the top saints is divided into the second grade, and the peaks of the ordinary ancestors of the emperors the strong are the third grade, and the general genius is the fourth grade. Then, Yi Tian's current strength is enough to be divided into the third grade of the Supreme Power Domain Ancestor. The second grade Supreme Ancestors basically have a great chance of being promoted to the Invincible Domain Ancestors, and only the third grade Invincible Domain Ancestors have little confidence to be promoted to the Invincible Domain Ancestors, which is the desire to obtain the Soul Holy World Flower. This time, the Dark Sanctuary has almost no second grade Supreme Ancestors coming to the Daoshan realm, and the strongest ones are only very close to the second grade Supreme Ancestors. For example, the True Spirit Domain Ancestors belong to the third-level Supreme Power Domain Ancestor, and Yi Tian also belong to the third-level Combat Power. The Mullet Holy Sun also barely belongs to the third grade, but his combat power is slightly weaker than Yi Tian. Everyone, let's go together, first inflict heavy damage on the Holy Sun of 10,000 laws, and then go to snatch the flower of the Holy Spirit realm, and then see what you can do. Mullet Yuzu proposed. He is not afraid of Yi Tian, but he doesn't think Yi Tian really has the ability to kill him. Boom, 13 third-level Xeon ancestors shot all together, and there are also hundreds of fourth-level Xeon ancestors. Such a force is enough to severely damage or even kill any third-level Xeon. Domain Ancestors, only the second-tier Supreme Domain Ancestors can hope to compete against these Supreme Domain Ancestors. At this moment, Yi Tian's duplicate body appeared. The fact that he has a special clone has long been spread in this mountain boundary, so this is not a secret. I saw that the copy body appeared holding the Forbidden Yuan blade, and as soon as it appeared, the Forbidden Yuan blade was directly used, and a full-strength blow comparable to the second-level Supreme Power Domain Ancestor erupted. Boom, one of the most powerful ancestors was knocked flying, and at the same time, Yi Tian's body used the sacred technique, aiming at one of the most powerful ancestors, Mullet an Ancestor. Yi Tian wanted to behead a third-grade Supreme Power Domain Ancestor, thereby deterring other strong Domain Ancestors. What? The ancestor of the Mullet region suffered a blow from the sacred technique, and his soul was shaken, as if it was torn apart. And at this moment, Yi Tian cast another terrifying holy skill on Hema, the Eternal Holy Skill. At this time, the ancestor of the Mullet domain was frozen in time, the whole person was frozen, and even his thinking was frozen. And at the moment when Muyu Yuyu was frozen, Yi Tian slashed his body with a virtual slash, and copied his body with the forbidden blade to perform a fatal blow. If the Mullet domain ancestor is not affected by the time holy skill, he can also activate the life-saving thing. But he was affected by the time holy skill, which was equivalent to giving up the life-saving thing completely, so he had no resistance. Puff! The Mullet domain ancestor's body collapsed, his soul was annihilated, and he completely fell and died. And all of this was only completed in an instant, until the Mullet domain ancestor fell, and the other supreme ancestors reacted. Chapter 1376, The Holy Skill of Virtual Slashing, the Peak of Perfection. The ancestor of the Mullet domain has fallen. Many supreme ancestors who knew the Mullet domain ancestors were shocked. The strength of the Mullet domain ancestor is very powerful. It is incredible that such a powerful supreme domain ancestor could fall so easily. And after Yi Tian beheaded the ancestor of the Mullet domain, he also let the copy body put away the forbidden blade. Even now that he has reached the level of the top domain ancestor, the side effects of using the forbidden blade are still very large, so naturally he doesn't need to use it. Moreover, he beheaded the ancestors of the Mullet region, which was enough to shock many ancestors of the strongest regions. Sure enough, as soon as the ancestor of the Mullet domain fell, many ancestors of the strongest domain retreated, daring not to snatch the soul of the holy world again. Even the True Spirit domain ancestor and the others gave up robbing the soul sacred world. After all, they were not sure to kill the Mullet domain ancestor, but Yi Tian could kill the Mullet domain ancestor in several ways, surpass them. Even if Yi Tian used the effect of the forbidden blade to kill the ancestor of the Mullet at the cost of his clone, this is his own strength. Son of all laws, let's retreat. And Shanqiang domain ancestor gave up. No way, they felt that they couldn't deal with Yi Tian, once they made a move, the possibility of falling would be too great. Compared with the soul sacred world flower, his own life is naturally more important. With the retreat of one of the powerful ancestors, the other ancestors of the strong domain began to hesitate. After all, Yi Tian's desperate efforts are enough to be equivalent to a second-grade supreme power domain ancestor. If they want to kill a second-grade supreme power domain ancestor, they are afraid that there will be countless casualties. Moreover, at the critical moment, the supreme ancestors of the War Gate will definitely not stand by and watch, and they will still be unable to snatch the flower of the Soul Holy World. Retreat. A third-grade Xeon domain ancestor withdrew. This retreat directly caused some of the top supreme ancestors to leave the Soul Saint realm. The other supreme ancestors naturally did not dare to stay, and retreated one after another. In a twinkling of an eye, the ancestors of the strong domain retreated cleanly. However, several of them did not retreat, but said, "Son of all laws, we were wrong, we apologize to you." These are the supreme ancestors who have the qualifications to cultivate in the Soul Holy World. They also participated in the siege before. Although they only made one shot, they undoubtedly offended Yi Tian completely. If you don't go, then don't go. Yi Tian's killing intent spread out. Immediately, the few supreme ancestors retreated immediately, and did not dare to stay any longer, otherwise they would really fall. This time, Zonman's supreme power domain ancestor did not make a move. In fact, they are also watching, seeing that Yi Tian is invincible in the back. Naturally they will not take action, otherwise they will not be able to grab the flower of the Soul Saint realm, and they say that offending the first holy son of the War Gate is a loss-making business. All the ancestors of the strongest domain left. Yi Tian went to pick the flower of the Soul Holy World with peace of mind. Boom! Countless black shadows rushed towards Yi Tian's soul, trying to tear Yi Tian's soul. At this time, Yi Tian used the holy technique to protect his soul. Even so, Yi Tian felt a little pain. But in the end, Yi Tian still picked up the Soul Sacred World flower. Congratulations to the Holy Son of 10,000 Laws for obtaining the flower of Soul Saint Realm. 1. Congratulations to the Holy Son of 10,000 Laws for obtaining the flower of Soul Saint Realm. 1. Congratulations to the Holy Son of Wanfa for obtaining the Soul Saint Realm flower. One of the most powerful domain ancestors in the War Gate congratulated them. However, from their words, a strong jealousy could be heard. After all, if you have the flower of the Soul Saint Realm, you will become an invincible ancestor in the future. Moreover, Yi Tian controls a Soul Holy World, and in the future can even cultivate many invincible domain ancestors. What an envy thing this is. Yi Tian did not stay in the Soul Saint Realm, but left quickly and returned to the human realm. Yi Tian doesn't plan to use the Soul Sacred Realm flower. He is very confident in himself. The mere invincible domain ancestor realm is nothing to him, but his wife and son can't easily break through to the invincible domain ancestor realm. Therefore, he was going to give this Soul Holy World flower to his closest wife, Xiao Yu. Now, Xiao Yu has also broken through to the realm of the top domain ancestors. Once he has stepped into the super domain ancestor level, and then raised his soul to a certain level, he can directly refine the Soul Holy World flower, and he can raise his soul to the birth of the Soul Holy Light. Degree. It is not cost-effective to use the Soul Holy World flower now, and it may not be able to give birth to the Soul Holy Light, because Xiao Yu's current soul strength is still far from the birth of the Soul Holy Light, so refining the Soul Holy World flower now can only strengthen the soul a lot. Times. The days that followed were calmer. Although many ancestors from the Dark Sanctuary did not have the opportunity to enter the Soul Holy Realm, they did not leave the Daoshan realm. The Daoshan realm is far from being comparable to the Dark Sanctuary, but the Xuanshu Sacred Realm is a newly born sacred realm after all, and the Sacred Realm is relatively rare in the Dark Sanctuary, and it is difficult for many supreme ancestors to practice in the Sacred Realm. Besides, the Xuanshu Sacred Realm is very rich in resources, and it is also helpful for them to occasionally give birth to some chance treasures. Moreover, many resources here are relatively cheap in value, so if you cultivate here, the benefits are not small. Moreover, they can also contact their strength in the Dark Sanctuary through the Zanji Tower, and they can send any resources they want through the Zanji Tower. Therefore, many domain ancestors will not go back in a short time. In the blink of an eye, millions of years have passed. This day, one of Yi Tian's holy skills has been upgraded to the ultimate perfection, and he is only one step away from the ultimate realm. This holy skill is the slashing holy skill. Originally, a space holy technique like the void slashing technique was very difficult to cultivate, but Yi Tian possessed the ancestral method of the void, and with the help of the creation of the primordial well, the effect Li Nuos was very good, so the void slashing technique was very effective. The biggest bar of progress. Now, the virtual slashing technique has reached the peak of perfection, and is about to enter the extreme level. Once the void slashing holy skill was cultivated to the second time, Yi Tian rose a bit. The sacred skills at the extreme level are not simple. Many supreme domain ancestors have difficulty cultivating a sacred skill to the extreme level, which represents the extreme of the sacred skills cultivated at the domain ancestor level. However, even if Yi Tian is only one step away from the ultimate holy skill, it will take a long time to cultivate the virtual slashing holy skill to the extreme. But Yi Tian's domain body and domain power are much purer than before, his soul is also much stronger, and his progress is very fast. Originally, Yi Tian planned to cultivate steadily until he reached the limit of the top domain ancestor realm, and then attack the strong domain ancestor realm with the most stable foundation. But suddenly, the Xuanshu holy realm once again attracted the attention of countless ancestors. Chapter 1377 Ancestral Relics. Mysterious Holy Realm. On a star continent, there are only a few humans on this starry sky continent. After all, the Xuanshu sacred realm is too big. There are countless starry sky continents and too many sites. No matter how many people there are, it is impossible to completely spread the population across every starry sky continent. At this time, a dark area was born on this starry sky continent. This dark area is actually composed of countless black lights. Because it is too strange, all the humans on this starry sky continent have withdrawn, for fear of something going wrong. Moreover, even if they don't withdraw, if the ancestors of the domain explore this area and find any treasures, once they fight, the fluctuations alone are enough to annihilate them. Therefore, humans on this starry sky continent dare not stay. They had no way to enter that dark area, so they could only retreat honestly. Soon, the half-step ancestor of the human race came. But Banbu Yuzu found that this area was not simple, and immediately reported it to the human ancestor. And the abnormality in this area also spread, attracting the attention of many domain ancestors. As a result, some domain ancestors came here, and they had guesses for the first time. Outside the starry sky continent, some domain ancestors are guessing. This black light is a bit weird, it can't be detected by divine sense, and even my pupil skill at the level of perfection can't penetrate it. 590 can't leak a bit of aura, could it be some sacred object born? It doesn't look like a holy relic was born, does it? Don't you see that it's a bit like a sign of some kind of relic? Is it the very special sacred object among the sacred objects? That's right, it's that relica, the ancestral relic. Ancestral relics. When many ancestors heard this, they couldn't believe it, but most ancestors were still very confused, so they had never heard of it. Because ancestral relics are too rare and have not been included in the list of relics. The reason why it is not included in the list of sacred objects is because this sacred object is a consumable sacred object. This sacred object contains ancestral text, which is a special kind of writing. It is rumored that the ancestral text is related to the creation of the ancestor law, but it is only a little related. There are many kinds of ancestral inscriptions, but they only exist on ancestral relics and cannot be recorded. Once inscribed on anything, they will disappear and are not allowed by the dark forbidden area. And through the ancestral texts, everyone can comprehend the corresponding taboo ways, domain techniques, holy skills, etc., and even comprehend the creation of the ancestors. Of course, no one has ever heard of anyone who comprehends the ancestral texts and created the ancestral law. However, if there are enough ancestral relics, and if you continue to comprehend them, it may really increase the hope of creating the first ancestral law. The strength of the ancestral relics depends entirely on the number of ancestral texts. For example, some ancestral relics have only 1 or 2 ancestral inscriptions, and that kind of ancestral relic is relatively rubbish, but some ancestral relics have thousands of ancestral inscriptions, and the value of that ancestral inscription is very high. In short, the ancestral relic is helpful to all. What is even more exciting is that once the ancestral relic is born, it is difficult to take away, almost frozen in the void, and cannot be refined. At the very least, they haven't heard of anyone refining the ancestral relic. In the past, if the ancestral sacred relic was born in the dark sanctuary, the major forces would compete for the territory of that area to control the ancestral sacred artifact. But now, if the ancestral relics are really born here, will the Holy Son of 10,000 Laws go to war with all the ancestors of the domain? Many domain ancestors thought that the human race could not completely occupy this ancestral sacred relic, so the power of the human race was too weak, and Yi Tian alone could not compete with all the domain ancestors. Moreover, this time is different from the flower of the Soul Saint realm. Soul Saint realm flower can only be refined by one person, thus being promoted to invincible domain ancestor. But the ancestral relics are enough for a large number of domain ancestors to comprehend and practice. If the human race wants to occupy the ancestral relics here, it is not realistic. If Yi Tian was able to take this ancestral relic, other domain ancestors would be helpless, but the key is that they can't take it now. Hope it's an ancestral relic, that's a big chance for us. Many domain ancestors thought. Yi Tian, who got the news, quickly came here. The domain ancestors of the human race greeted Yi Tian and explained the situation here. Ancestral relic. Yi Tian didn't dare to confirm, because he had never seen ancestral relics. If it is an ancestral relic, what should he do? Should he occupy this ancestral relic at all costs? No, the power of human beings is too weak, and I can't suppress all the supreme ancestors by myself. Even if I mobilize the power of the Genesis primordial well, I can at most have the supreme ancestors that are comparable to the first grade. It is impossible to truly defy the sky, and once the domain ancestors are completely angered, if they destroy the Xuanshu Holy Realm, it will be a catastrophe for the human race. Yi Tian thought to himself. Therefore, he did not want to take the human race as a bet. Besides, it's just a mere ancestral relic, but it's not as important as the human race. In the future, the Xuanshu Holy Realm is afraid that more treasures and opportunities will be born. Could it be that he will always be the enemy of all the ancestors? The human race is not a holy gate, and there is no way to completely control a holy world. Unless he is now willing to give the Xuanshu Holy Realm to Zanman, and let Zanman send the supreme-level domain ancestors to sit in the seat, then he may be able to completely control the Xuanshu Holy Realm, so that no force can invade the Xuanshu Holy Realm. But Yi Tian is not stupid, so naturally he will not do this. As time passed, the black light slowly contracted, gradually showing the phantom of a black bell. At this time, the breath of the holy relic diffused out. First of all, it is a sacred object. Many domain ancestors thought. As for whether it is an ancestral sacred relic, it depends on whether there is ancestral text on the sacred object. More and more domain ancestors came here. After all, the ancestral relics are too attractive and are of great use to all domain ancestors. Hundreds of years have passed. This day, the black light finally dissipated, revealing the full picture of the bell-like relic. Buzz. The fluctuation of the sacred object spread out, and there were glittering words on the bell body. These words are Zuan. It really is an ancestral relic. 1. Many domain ancestors said excitedly. At this time, they are all counting the number of Zuan. 72 ancestral texts. Yi Tian counted. This number is quite large, and the value of such ancestral relics is very precious. Chapter 1378 The Virtual Slashing Technique, the Ultimate Realm. 72 ancestral texts. Many Shanqiang ancestors were shocked. If there are only a few ancestral inscriptions, it may not be useful to many ancestors of the strong domain, because each ancestral inscription represents a Tao, and several ancestral inscriptions represent several Taos. In other words, it is useless to comprehend such ancestral texts. For example, if there is no ancestor of fire, and only a few other ancestors, they will not be able to obtain benefits. The 72 ancestral texts are different, which cover many paths. As long as the luck is not bad, you will basically find the ancestral text that suits you, thereby improving your own domain or holy skills. At this time, many ancestors of the domain were investigating the ancestral texts one after another, but no one went to snatch the sacred relics of the ancestral texts, because they all knew that they could not be taken away. Soon, the ancestral texts of the Taoism represented by the 72 ancestral texts were all analyzed by the domain ancestors. There is even an ancestral text representing the way of the sky. Yi Tian was a little surprised. Although the ancestral text of the sky is far from being comparable to the ancestral method of the emptiness, the ancestral text of the emptiness is a consumable item. Of course, a Zuan cannot accommodate too many people to comprehend, otherwise the consumption speed will be very fast, then the gain will outweigh the loss. Therefore, many supreme ancestors are very dignified and want to enter the ancestral script to practice, but they do not want too many ancestors to enter, otherwise the ancestors will be exhausted and they will lose this opportunity. Holy Son of 10,000 Laws, this is the territory of your human race. How would you describe the cultivation quota for this ancestral sacred artifact? If your human race wants to occupy all of them, then let's fight. One of the strongest domain ancestors said. Other domain ancestors also responded, making it clear that they would not give up. Yi Tian is very clear that even if he unites with all the other supreme power ancestors in the battle gate, he will not be able to compete with all the supreme power ancestors. So, yes, but the quota of foreign ancestors is limited. According to the normal division, one ancestor is suitable for 100 supreme ancestors to enlighten. I will give you 2,000 places. Is this all right? Yi Qingtian suggested. 2,000 names are not too few. After all, there are many supreme domain ancestors from the Dark Sanctuary this time, not many, only thousands of supreme domain ancestors, and the others are top domain ancestors. Therefore, many supreme ancestors can obtain this place. Next, those foreign ancestors fought for the cultivation places. Some domain ancestors who had no background were kicked out one by one, and if there were resistance domain ancestors, they were directly killed. Soon after, 2,000 places were basically confirmed. On the Terran side, there are a lot of places. After all, except for the extra 1,000 names given to the ancestors of the Zonman domain, the rest of the quotas belong to the Terran. In this regard, many top domain ancestors of Zonman have opinions, but it is useless, and they cannot resist Yi Tian. After all, how powerful Yi Tian's combat power is, how can these top domain ancestors resist? As for the Shanqiang ancestors of Zonman, I have no opinion, because all 200 Shanqiang ancestors have won the quota. There are many domain ancestors of the human race now, and even ordinary domain ancestors who have just broken through have won the quota. Yi Tian even gave some places to the half-step ancestors of the human race who were innately enchanting, in order to train them. This day, Yi Tian and many domain ancestors blocked this area to prevent their cultivation from being disturbed. I don't care what kind of grievances you have, once you enter this ancestral sacred artifact to cultivate, you must not fight, otherwise you will destroy your cultivation, and you will be expelled immediately. Yi Tian spoke. In this regard, the other Shanqiang ancestors have no opinion. Wow wow, a famous ancestor flew into the ancestral inscriptions inside the black bell, only to see these ancestral inscriptions flashing constantly, swallowing a famous ancestor. On the other hand, Yi Tian flew into the ancestral text of the empty word representing the way of the sky. The ancestral text of the sky, the interior space. Many domain ancestors sat cross-legged, and began to comprehend and cultivate one by one, without disturbing each other. Yi Tian has also begun to comprehend and cultivate. He has two space holy skills, one is virtual slash, and the other is empty escape holy skill. Certainly, ask for flowers. He also doesn't expect himself to be able to cultivate the two holy skills to the limit level, but if it cooperates with the effects of the ancestral art of the sky and the ancestral text of the sky, there may be hope that he will practice the void slash before the ancestral art of the sky is exhausted, to the limit level. As for other holy skills, there is no hope, even if no one snatch him, those Zhu Wen can't help him to comprehend other holy skills to the limit level. After all, he currently has only one ancestor law. Time passed slowly, and hundreds of thousands of years passed in the blink of an eye. At this time, the Zuan on the Black Bell sacred object was extremely dim, and it was obviously not far from the Zuan disappearing. At this time, many domain ancestors made great progress, especially the human domain ancestors. The progress was even greater. Point 0. This is not to say that the human ancestors are talented, but their strength is weak and their foundation is weak, so the range of improvement is naturally large. And those domain ancestors from the Dark Sanctuary have all cultivated for a long time, and the room for improvement is small, so the progress is not large. I have to say that this time, the ancestors of the ancestors caught up with the ancestors of the Dark Sanctuary. This day, Yi Tian opened his eyes, and his eyes were full of joy. At this time, his virtual slashing technique had already broken through, and he had stepped from the perfect state to the limit level. This also means that his void/holy skill has really come to an end and cannot be improved further. The void/holy skill at the extreme level is 10 times more powerful than the holy skill at the perfection level, and of course it consumes more energy. However, as soon as the void/slashing holy skill broke through, Yi Tian's strength also increased instantly. Before, he could use the forbidden element blade to exert the second-grade combat power of the Supreme Ancestor, but now he can have the second-grade combat power of the Supreme Ancestor without the use of the forbidden blade. The void/holy skill broke through, and Yi Tian also tried to improve the void escape holy skill. However, after only 10,000 years, the ancestral text of the sky was shattered. Boom! The ancestral space of the sky disappeared, and Yi Tian and others returned to the outside world. At this time, the other ancestral texts also collapsed one by one, and only a few ancestral texts remained, but they could not last long. Chapter 1379 The Xian Domain Ancestor on the Xian List. Soon after, all the ancestral texts on the Black Bell shattered, and even the Black Bell began to disintegrate and dissipate. This miraculous ancestral relic disappeared and never existed again. If such an ancestral relic falls on the site of the 10 great sacred sects, I am afraid that it would have been protected long ago and strictly controlled its quota. Only in this way can the ancestral relics be used for a long time. But now, the human race has no way to monopolize the ancestral sacred relic, and can only choose to use it like this. Of course, the human race didn't lose much. After all, this ancestral sacred artifact has greatly increased the strength of the race. Many ancestors of the human race have cultivated one or more domain techniques to a perfect state or even an extreme state, and their cultivation of various secret techniques has reached a very high level. The realm of 590s. After this time, the ancestors of the human race will rise one after another. However, the biggest gainer is undoubtedly Etn. He has cultivated the void slashing technique to the limit, which is a huge breakthrough, which is equivalent to stepping into another level. The key is that the void slashing holy technique has reached the limit level, and in turn, Etn has a little understanding of the ancestral law of the sky. This is a great improvement. Soul Saint Realm, Ancestral Sacred Relic, the birth of these two opportunities, many domain ancestors have paid attention to Xuanxu Saint Realm. Anyone can see that the Xuanxu Holy Realm is not simple. If it weren't for the fact that Etn had the war sect as his backing, presumably other sacred sects would not mind occupying a Xuanxu Sacred Realm. But because of the war gate, even if the other holy gates can see that the Xuanxu Holy World is not simple, they will not capture the Xuanxu Holy World. In the following days, not only the Xuanxu Holy Realm, but also many good things were born in the Daoshan realm. And many good things have fallen into the hands of the human race, because the Daoshan realm now has the largest number of human races, and the general treasures, those top domain ancestors and the strongest domain ancestors, will not come to snatch it with the human race. At the level below the ancestors, the human race crushes everything. As time passed, the human race became stronger and stronger. Although Etn has always been at the top domain ancestor level, he is also making steady progress, constantly refining his soul, domain power and domain body, although it will take a long time to reach the strong domain ancestor level. After all, he wouldn't hit the realm of the ancestors of the strong domain casually, otherwise, he could step into the realm of the ancestors of the strong domain at any time. Dark Sanctuary, Holy Maiden's Gate. The saintess in light clothes also learned about the news about the Xuanxu Holy Realm, and was immediately very curious. The Xuanxu Holy Realm is not simple. The Soul Holy Realm was born shortly after the birth of the Soul Holy Realm, as well as the birth of sacred objects, as well as the birth of ancestral sacred objects. The ordinary Holy Realm cannot do this. Moreover, the Xuanxu Holy Realm was born. The resources are very rich, even richer than the general holy world that has just been born. Although there are more opportunities for the dark holy objects, many good opportunities are basically controlled by the invincible domain ancestors and the supreme domain ancestors. If I don't get started, I can fight for the opportunity of the Xuanxu Holy Realm. In case a very precious opportunity is born there, it will also be of great help to me in the future to attack the ancestors of the supreme domain. The lightly clothed saint thought. Another point, she wants to know what level Etn's strength has reached now. When she returned to the realm, she admitted that she was not Etn's opponent. But now, under the full cultivation of the saintess and her parents, although she is only at the top domain ancestor level, her combat power is extremely powerful, and even with the help of a rare treasure, she has cultivated a holy skill to the limit. Moreover, she also cultivated her own holy body to the limit. I have to say that as a saint, she has resources that no one else can imagine. Although Etn is a sage gift person, the actual resource cultivation he has obtained is far from being comparable to that of a sage gift person. After all, others have grandparents in the supreme domain, but he doesn't. This day, the light-clothed saint took a group of supreme ancestors to the Xuanxu Holy Realm in the Daoshan realm. In addition to the lightly clothed saintess, many genius domain ancestors in the Dark Sanctuary also went to the Daoshan realm one after another, and many of them were evil spirits among the most powerful domain ancestors. Once these domain ancestors reach the Daoshan realm, the competition in the Xuanxu Holy Realm will rise to a higher level. Holy Son of 10,000 Laws, a big man has come to Zonman. The true spirit domain ancestor came to inform Etn. Big man. Etn didn't know who the big man the true spirit domain ancestor was talking about. True spirit domain ancestor did not let Etn guess, and said directly, the big man who came to Zonman is also a supreme power domain ancestor, but his status is very unusual. The evildoer even beheaded the invincible domain ancestor. Xian list. Etn has heard of this list. There is a Xeon list inside each holy gate. It records the list of the top Xeon ancestors. Even the first-level Xeon ancestors are not eligible to enter this list. From ancient times to the present, how many supreme ancestors have been born in a holy gate? Even if some supreme ancestors are qualified to attack the invincible ancestors, they are not in a hurry to attack the invincible ancestors but stay at the level of the supreme ancestors. For countless domain ancestors, the invincible domain ancestor is their ultimate, so they stayed in the supreme domain ancestor for countless years to strengthen their foundation, only to become stronger after becoming the invincible domain ancestor. In this way, even if there is no hope to become the ancestor of the supreme domain in the future, he is also qualified to dominate the ancestors of the invincible domain. 5.8. For example, the blood gang ancestor, the invincible ancestor, is very powerful at the level of the invincible ancestor, and can easily kill the ordinary invincible ancestor. There are many ancient Shanqiang ancestors in any holy gate, so it is difficult to be listed in the top 30 of the Shanqiang list among the large number of ancient Xingqiang ancestors. For example, among the supreme ancestors of Zonman, there are still saints. Only 100 people are listed on the Xeon list, so any Xeon ancestor on the Xeon list has a very high status, not weaker than the invincible ancestor. For the true spirit domain ancestor, the strongest domain ancestor on the Xeon list can easily obliterate him, and he is definitely a big man among the big men. From the mouth of the true spirit domain ancestor, Yi Tian also knew the name of the domain ancestor. Herring domain ancestor. Chapter 1380 Jade Bottle, negotiate with the light-clothed saint. The ancestor Herring has also been the first son of the war sect for a long time, and has stayed in the ancestor of the strongest domain for a long time. In fact, with the talent and potential of the ancestor of Herring Yu, if he wanted to hit the realm of the ancestor of the invincible territory, he had already succeeded in the attack. Once the ancestor Herring entered the realm of the invincible ancestor, it would be an existence comparable to that of the ancestor of the blood gang, and he would definitely be one of the top leaders of the war sect. But so far, the Herring domain ancestor has not made a breakthrough, and many domain ancestors do not know the reason. It stands to reason that the ancestors of the Herring domain should cultivate the domain body and domain strength to an extremely pure position, and the soul has also reached the level of the holy light of the soul. Why not choose to break through? Yi Tian did not step into the ancestor level of the supreme strong domain, so many secrets may not be known, so it would not be surprising. He felt that so many supreme ancestors have been staying at the supreme ancestor level, there must be a reason to stay, and he will not waste time on purpose. Although Yi Tian is now the first holy son, his strength and status are far inferior to that of the ancestor of the Herring domain. Therefore, when the ancestor of the Herring has come, he must go to see him. Then let's see you. 29 Yi Tian said. Soon, Yi Tian, led by the true spirit domain ancestor, came to a certain continent in the Xuanshu sacred realm, and saw a woman wearing a blue battle uniform. This woman was the so-called Herring domain ancestor. I have seen the ancestor of the Herring domain, Yi Tian said politely. While saying hello, Yi Tian also noticed the dozens of supreme ancestors around the Herring ancestors. These supreme ancestors are all under the command of the ancestors of the Bluefish domain, and they are all female, not members of the War Gate, but only the personal guards of the ancestors of the Bluefish domain. But these supreme ancestors are not weak, they are all geniuses selected by the ancestors of the Herring in the Dark Sanctuary, and they are all willing to follow the ancestors of the Herring. Under the cultivation of the ancestors of the Herring, they have grown up one by one. Today, these dozens of supreme power ancestors are very powerful, and they have reached the combat power of the top supreme ancestors, and a few of them have the third-level supreme power ancestors, which are not weaker than some so-called ancestors. Holy Son. It is also a matter of full face to have so many Shanqiang ancestors. Holy Son of 10,000 laws, I want to practice in Xuanshu Holy Realm for a while, don't you mind? Herring Yuzu said with a smile. Naturally don't mind. Yi Tian said. In the following chat, Yi Tian felt that the ancestor of the Herring was easier to talk, and his temperament was very gentle. Of course, Yi Tian did not relax because of this. It has to be said that his current strength is far inferior to that of Herring Yuzu, so the presence of Herring Yuzu here is not a good thing for him. Even if Yi Tian made full use of the power of the Xuanshu sacred realm, he would not necessarily be able to defeat the ancestor of the Herring domain. In the days that followed, great figures from the Dark Sanctuary came, and each of them was no weaker than the ancestors of the Herring domain. And the holy maiden in light clothes also came. Yi Tian knew the news, but did not go to see Saint Maiden in light clothes. After all, the relationship between the two was relatively normal, and they were not really friends. At this time, Yi Tian is practicing with all his strength, striving to temper his domain power and body to an extremely pure place as soon as possible, and then temper his soul to an extremely high level. In that case, he will attack the realm of the ancestors of the strong domain. Once he is promoted to the realm of the strongest ancestors, he can sweep everything. Because of the endless domain law, Yi Tian's cultivation speed is very fast, the domain force and domain body are more refined day by day, and the soul can be cultivated and tempered in the soul holy world, so the speed of progress is not slow. But even now, it will take a long time to cultivate to the pinnacle of the top domain ancestors. Unless you use some treasures that can quickly temper the domain body and domain power, you can speed up the cultivation and quickly rise to the pinnacle of the top domain ancestors, but such treasures are not in Yi Tian's hands. There may be a war gate, but such treasures must be very precious, and he has no suitable bargaining chips in his hands. He would not trade things that were really useful to him, and ordinary things could not be exchanged for such treasures. However, Yi Tian still went to Zanmen to learn about the pure domain body and the treasures of domain power. In the end, he learned that there are 3 treasures in the dark sanctuary that are very effective for him and can quickly complete the pure refining. One is the pure holy fruit, which can purify all the power in the body in a short period of time, but the value is very high. A pure holy fruit is even more precious than the holy objects on the holy object list, because the pure holy fruit is for the supreme. The domain ancestors are all useful, and it is undoubtedly a waste to use them for the top domain ancestors. The second is Wushodan, which is a kind of medicinal pill. The alchemy system of the dark sanctuary is also very developed. It has many medicinal pills that are of great help to the ancestors of the domain. The materials are basically holy medicines. With holy medicines as the main material, the refined medicinal pills often have magical effects. There are even powerful alchemists who can use certain plant-type taboo treasures as materials to refine medicine pills, and the effect is also very good. And Wusho pill is a kind of magical medicine that contains many kinds of holy medicines, and even contains an ancestor medicine, which is refined, but this medicine is controlled by the taboo holy door, and there is no Wusho pill in the war gate. The third type is a sacred object, the jade bottle, which is the unique sacred object of the Holy Maiden's Gate, and there is more than one. 590 Most of the relics have only one, but some relics have multiple. The jade bottle is a sacred object condensed in the jade world. The jade world is a holy world under the sect of the saint. This holy world is very strange. A jade bottle can be born after a long time. The grade of the object is not high and cannot be placed on the list of sacred objects, but the effect is very good, and it can purify the power. Because of this, the domain ancestors of the Saintess sect progressed very fast. There are none of the 3 treasures in the war sect. Although the war sect also has some treasures that assist pure power, the effect is relatively slow and does not meet my requirements. Yi Tian thought to himself. This kind of pure holy fruit is almost a legend. Yi Tian gave up completely. As for Wushodan, the materials are relatively rare, and he doesn't know anyone from the taboo holy sect. This time, the domain ancestor who came to the forbidden holy gate is not a high-level person, and it is impossible to have Wushodan in his hand. It was the jade bottle. Yi Tian felt that there was still some hope, because the holy maiden Qingyi might have a jade bottle in her hands. After all, the holy maiden in Qingyi has a high status, and she is a saint. Her parents gave her a jade bottle to help her practice, which is very normal. It's better to go to the light-clothed saint and ask, if she really has a jade bottle in her hand, see if she can spend some time using it for a while. Yi Tian thought to himself.